Okay. Should be live now on YouTube. Let me just get the stream going on TikTok as well. Um, there we go. If you're hopping on TikTok, make sure you guys are double tapping the screen. Okay, there we go. It's up and running. Let's see. Okay, there we go. I think the chat should be working on YouTube. If someone wants to head on over to YouTube and make sure everything's running smoothly, I'd appreciate that. It looks like it is on my end, but I don't want to find out in like 30 minutes that it's not working. I wanted to go live for just a little bit to cover the Hunter Biden, Nick Fuentes, whatever that was. I've already watched this. I'm not acting like this is like my first reaction, but I think it's worth discussing. And then also, I want to cover some of the recent whatever's been happening on the left. I've been so like locked in on this YouTube video I'm making, and I've just been kind of scrolling past the news. But the what do you even call it? YouTube looking good? Okay. The Civil War, the factional divide taking place in the Democratic Party right now, where it's like the DSA is rising and David Pakman just called out Hassan, and now what's going to happen with Destiny? I I hate it so much. Not because I don't have an opinion on it. Like I actually I have an opinion, it's very strong on it, but like it just every discussion online devolves into tribalism in like 30 seconds, which I guess that's like every debate or discussion ever, but it's just like it's so toxic. It's so toxic where it's like the soundness of your argument is just one piece, and then there's also like your interpersonal relationship. My opinion is this: the split in the anti-Trump coalition right now, as far as I'm concerned, is not socialist versus progressive. It's not about like, do you want single payer or just an expansion of the ACA or a public option in between? That's not the divide. It's not on policy. The divide is between like, I guess you'd say liberalism and illiberalism. And when I say liberalism and illiberalism, I don't mean liberalism as in like FDR and like New Deal. I mean like liberal values, like whatever you'd call it, like Enlightenment values or whatever. That's the divide, right? So I like Mamdani a lot. Mamdani is technically in the socialist faction, which is supposed to be against the normal Democrat faction. But for all intents and purposes, Mamdani is someone who believes, broadly speaking, in our constitutional system of government. He's to the left on economic issues, but he believes in operating within this system, believes in free speech, believes in pluralism and democracy and all these different things. So when I'm thinking about who do I want in my coalition, I'm not interrogating, are you a member of the DSA? If you're a member of the DSA or a member of anything else, I'm asking you, okay, but like, do you believe in certain liberal values? And if you start defending Mao, then I have an answer to my question. Okay, that's the actual dividing line is maybe the Mao thing more than are you in DSA. There's plenty of people in DSA, plenty of people who call themselves leftists. And I've made the mistake before of just assuming, like, if you call yourself a leftist, you're like an anti-electoral, illiberal person. That's just not true. Many people who watch me call themselves leftists. They voted for Kamala Harris. They're going to vote blue in the midterms and in 2028, but maybe they're to my left on economic policy. But as long as you agree we exist within the context of a free society that is not an authoritarian society where people can make free associations and decisions economically and socially, then we're on the same team for now because Trump is in opposition to that. Are you opposed to MMT? I mean, I don't subscribe to any one school of economics wholeheartedly. So I can't hear what you're saying. Is my audio not working on YouTube? But yeah, when it comes to MMT, I'm sure there's aspects of MMT that I like or specific conclusions MMT would draw that I might agree with, but I'm not going to like wholesale endorse or condemn MMT. Is he running for a third or fourth term? I doubt it. And this is something that people are surprised when I say this because if anyone's been sounding the alarm about Trump's authoritarianism, it's been me. Look at my second pin TikTok. I hate to say I told you so, but like, I feel like I predicted this entire second term to a T. If anything, I undersold it a little bit. I just think that Trump is too lazy to run for another term. I don't think he can be bothered to do that. I don't think he's gonna like the whole like. There's so much insane, unhinged, authoritarian shit that Trump could do, and the fact that he could do it is a serious problem that needs to be discussed. But I've just kind of been relying on the fact that our saving grace, the thing that always comes in as a silver lining, is that he's just stupid and he like lacks willpower and foresight. Yeah, I predicted in the Shapiro Jubilee debate too. Most of the time, do you think that being a part of the DSA means you're not liberal? I think it's safe to assume most of the time. This is where I think no. And I think this comes down to like there is such a I guess the incentive structure leads people to draw false dichotomies. Where like even if we're talking about the whole Hassan Piker controversy, right? I would draw a distinction between Hassan Piker the person and people that watch Hassan Piker, because I guarantee you anywhere from like 20 to 60%, I don't know the exact number, but a significant portion of people who say they like Hassan Piker, their only perception of Hassan Piker is clips on TikTok and clips on YouTube. And maybe 90% of those clips are him criticizing Republicans in ways that I might criticize Republicans or someone else on the left might criticize Republicans. So like even the conception the average person might have of Hassan Piker, I don't know how much it's going to be formed by him watching Houthi propaganda videos and saying he loves Mao versus him saying I want universal health care. So that's why I even hesitate to be like, oh, if you watch Hassan, you're not on my side. Well, not necessarily true. Maybe you just don't know the full Hassan lore, which even I don't fucking know because that shit's it's a long story apparently. But I disagree these people exist not to expand the tent, but to hijack the party. It's literally been their goal for so long. To hijack the party, you have to be able to, like, here's the thing. People draw the comparison between the Tea Party and what's happening right in the Democratic Party. There are some similar mechanisms at play, but like people say history doesn't repeat, it rhymes. And like, I haven't seen proof that like a DSA candidate can win in like a purple area. And maybe I've missed an election that's happened here. But if DSA is relegated to like the bluest of the blue areas, and the people that are actually winning these offices are not the Mao stands, they're just like to my left on economics and stuff, then that's a question of how far can the left flank of the party go? And like, again, I'm less concerned about how left they go than I am about like how illiberal they go. Okay, someone's in the request. What did you want to chat about? New account. New account, that's a red flag. You could just want to join to say the N-word or something. So what do you want to... Dems are still corporate shills. Okay, bro. I just don't know what to do with that statement. That's such a reductive statement. I do raise my eyebrows. First of all, we're in primaries, so you can criticize Democrats, obviously. But when people are really defining their brand solely on shitting on Democrats, that's where I go, okay, yeah, you know, it's a primary, make your arguments and stuff, but like, let's not lose sight of like the actual bad guys here, right? I want to chat about how Trump is good for the economy. Okay.
Yo, what's good, man?
What's up? I recognize your voice. I feel like this is.
Oh, I know you recognize my voice.
How old are you?
I'm 18.
Do you think Trump's good for the economy?
Yeah, I think he's absolutely amazing.
Are you trolling right now, or is?
Yeah, well, I'm not an idiot. I just wanted to know if you thought Matt Nuclear looks like an acorn.
He does.
Thank you, man.
Yeah.
Have a nice night.
You too. Okay. Democrats are beholden to keeping the current power structure in place as capitalists. Yeah. Okay. So? What do you mean? You mean the power structure of capitalism is in like people are allowed to own firms? Like firms can be privately owned? Yeah, I don't want to ban private ownership, so I guess I'm guilty of that too, right? Like I'm not against socialization of firms if you want to do worker cooperatives. I'm not against public options being offered in a lot of sectors. I'm not against even potentially making certain things public utilities. I mean, it would depend on the sector, but I'm not in favor of banning private ownership of companies. So if that's what you mean by they want to uphold it, I think probably the vast majority of Americans don't want to ban private ownership of companies. So, but promises on the campaign trail and no action except lining their pockets once in office, both sides. Ant bro, do you want to hop into requests? I'd love to discuss this with you. It doesn't have to be adversarial. I'm down to have a chill conversation, but this is an extremely toxic view to be spreading, especially near an election. Like this breeds nothing but like apathy. And the reason to the extent that there's like a lot of these bad things that have been happening in our government, how much of it is that like old people are on top of it? They're voting in every single election. They're showing up for the local dog catcher election. And they're micromanaging every single conversation about zoning, right? And then there's all these young people who, I don't want to generalize, but are like election schmelections, you know, left, right, Democrat, Republican, same shit. And it's like, dude, vote. Stop. Like, if you don't like the Democratic Party, like, go vote in primaries for people who are to the left. Go vote for Abdul Saeed in Michigan. Go vote for, who else is there? Mamdani in New York City, which even a lot of moderates like Mamdani as well. So, yeah, this conversation is annoying to me because it feels like it just never is happening in a productive way. It's always some kind of adjudication of like streamer proxy wars. Like, how many of these conversations are just proxy wars for like Hassan versus Destiny or something? It's like, okay, bro, I guess. There was a whole Jubilee where Westmore to convince 20 non-voters they're also insufferable. Here's where I disagree with people who think they're on my side here. I don't like writing large swaths of people off. I can write off someone like Hassan Piker and then say a lot of his fans are not like him. They just don't know the full extent. I don't even know the full extent of what Hassan believes because I feel like I've seen so much about it. So, like, if you're apathetic towards voting or you are only consumed. I make the same argument for MAGA. If you live in a media echo chamber and all the content you're consuming is reinforcing a certain worldview, I'm very hesitant to just meet you and be like, you fucking idiot. Fuck you. You're dumb. It's like, no, I'm actually going to first poke and prod a little bit and see why you believe what you believe, how good faith you are. And if you're a good faith actor, I tend to believe that if you're on the left, you probably share broadly values that like the state should take action to pursue more economic justice, whatever you want to call it. And the question there is the means. So I would encourage my audience, like, if you see a non-voter or someone who says they hate Democrats, I'm not saying don't debate them. I'm not saying they're not stupid, but let's not lead with that. Let's not open with that. Let's try to ask some clarifying questions first, because that's how you build a coalition, right? I feel the same way. I really hate cutting out the majority of people. Yeah. It's just, there's different ways to do politics, and saying fuck you is just not, it's usually not how you win elections. You usually want to be like, hey man, like, come on, join my team. Come on. Okay, Nico and Cole, let me know in the chat what y'all want to discuss. If I'm interested by it, we'll discuss it. Otherwise, I'm going to pivot to watching the Biden Nick Fuentes video, which is what the purpose of the stream was. Nico and Cole. Calling Nico and Cole to aisle 3. What did y'all want to chat about? An interesting question about a poll. And yeah, I will say Mao Zedong dictator fits so tough. Bro, like, people on the left, we know what dog whistles are, right? We're not all going to pretend like we don't know what a dog whistle is, right? Like when Greg Bovino wears that super Nazi adjacent coat, all of us were like, shut the fuck up, when Trump supporters were like, what, you can't wear long green jackets now? It's like, okay, when you're talking about remigration and you're wearing a jacket like that, I'm going to draw some associations I might not draw otherwise, if you didn't know the history of that jacket. So people who are like, what, you can't wear certain types of suits now? No, you can wear them, but if the guy wearing them likes Mao, then I'm going to ask follow-up questions probably. Right. LMAO, of course, last name is Khan. I know, right? I don't even know if this is who this person is or what they believe, but I know not to take them seriously. Okay, Nico. You gave a very vague recounting of what you want to talk about, but how old are you?
Hey, what's up, man?
What's up?
I'm 18.
Okay, what do you want to chat about?
All right, so wait, give me a second.
Okay. I promise you, most Marxists don't engage in dog whistles. They're very upfront. I think it depends on who you're talking about, right? Because even Nick
Yo,
Fuentes
what's up,
now is a
man?
lot more engaging in dog whistles than being upfront. What's up?
All right, so you know how the Democrats had like this all big blue wave in 2025?
Yeah,
So
sure.
by that
Like
time,
Mamdani, Spamberger, yeah.
yeah, that time. So Emerson at that time had the Democrats up in the generic ballot by 3 points.
Mm-hmm.
Today, they're up by 11.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that with Emerson like having like an expanded lead with the Democratic Party, like in the generic ballot, because they are an accurate pollster,
Sure.
but do you think that it could actually replicate into like a D+11 environment for the Democrats, or maybe they're
I don't
off by a
think that
little
that's
bit?
ridiculous. I mean, because a lot of the energy crisis is going to be sprung about by the Iran war. I feel like is also going to start manifesting towards the end of the summer and the early fall. So, um, like if anything, I would expect the national environment to be more favorable towards Democrats come midterms than it even is right now. My main concern with midterms is not are Democrats more popular and will more people vote for Democrats. My concern is to what extent is Trump going to meddle with the actual results of the election? That's what I'm worried about. I don't think that the actual big concern is like, oh my God, are enough people going to vote for us? I think that's like, I think it's pretty much a done deal in that regard. I think everyone should turn out and vote, obviously, but the idea that Trump has any kind of real base of like normal people who would vote for him is just not borne out by anything I've seen.
Yeah, and I also thought it was interesting because, he is trying to pass the SAVE Act,
Yeah, it's not going to
but
happen.
yeah, but even if it passes, like it's gonna benefit Democrats because
There's
I
an argument
heard
for that.
that
Yeah,
like, passports are gonna be needed for that. And so,
that's one of the
the
proofs of
red
citizenship.
states
Yeah.
and the red states, they don't have as much passports as
Yeah.
like the blue
The
states.
argument would be that if you live in a super rural area, you're going to have to drive a longer distance to get the type of documentation you would need to be eligible under the SAVE Act, and that might disproportionately hurt red areas. Um, I mean, I think the honest thing that like 99% of people agree on when it comes to voter ID is like voter ID is a totally fine policy if you just make ID free and accessible to people, as long as there's
Yeah,
no
I mostly
financial
agree
barrier.
with
Yeah.
that.
I think that's like the median American opinion on that topic.
Yeah, I mostly agree with that, and I think a lot of MAGA people would actually agree with that
Yeah,
as well if it was
this is like a
said.
thing is like there are a lot of issues we talk about right now that are framed as being super controversial, divisive issues. But that's because the positions people have staked out on those issues present like a false dichotomy. Voter ID is one of them. Immigration is one of them. The vast majority of like normal people in the United States believe something along the lines of, yeah, we should have voter ID just as long as the ID is not hard to get and everyone has easy free access. And yeah, we should have a border. We should have deportations targeted towards dangerous criminals. And if you want to just come here to like live and work in peace, then you should be able to come. So I think that these issues are not as controversial as they seem on the surface.
Yeah, and they're not gonna like say like, "Oh, we'll make the IDs free," because they wanna make it so low income people can't go out to the polls, and uh if you're lower income, you tend to lean Democrat most of the time. I mean, it just depends on the area.
Yeah, it depends on the area.
Um,
I do want to say,
yeah,
Joel's saying everyone has an ID. The SAVE Act also requires proof of citizenship, which is separate from the ID as well. I think that's required for registration, but regardless, the question is, anytime you're putting up roadblocks or steps or hurdles between a person and voting, all I'm arguing is you should make those like not any kind of friction. Like those shouldn't ever act, even in one case, as preventing someone from voting. As long as they don't, then I don't care.
yeah. All right. Well, I gotta go, man.
Okay,
But it
cool.
was nice talking with you.
Yep. Okay, we have Kilam and we have Matt Nuclear's top guy. And then we have Zen. Can y'all let me know in the chat what you guys want to talk about? And if it tickles my frontal lobe, I'll let you up. Otherwise, I'm switching to screen share and we're watching the Channel 5 video that just came out. ICE. Are you pro ICE or anti ICE? If you're anti ICE, then we agree. There's nothing to talk about. Citizen proof real ID, which isn't all real ID and not everyone has. Here's the thing. Anything, again, between a citizen and the ability to vote, any steps between that, as long as the steps are not presenting any kind of friction, then, like, yeah, it's fine. Pro, okay. Trump's making it easy to obtain ID. Democrat communists are full of excuses. Okay, yeah, Democrat communists for sure. Here's the thing, Pistachio. The idea that they would need a legal pretext to seize voting machines, if they seize voting machines, it's happening through executive order. The SAVE Act, just by the way, I would caution people who are saying, and Zen, you can hop back in the request. I'm down to debate ICE. I don't know if you just left by accident. But I would caution Democrats who think that like all this recent speech was about was Trump crying and whining that he wants to pass the SAVE Act. He's laying the groundwork and the evidence that when he challenges these things in court in November, if he does, his national security apparatus can point back and say, we've been making statements on this national security threat for months now. Look, Trump and all of my people, we've been talking about this since 2025, that the election threat is really real. And we did a big speech about it. We did a press release about it. We even tried to pass the SAVE Act. We tried to go through Congress, but it didn't work. So now, in light of all those failed attempts through the system, now we just have to use executive power to do this. So the idea that they need the SAVE Act, they need these things, they're going to try to do it first. If it doesn't work, they're just going to do it a different way if they want to. The question, again, when it comes to the extent of Trump's authoritarianism, this is what the video I'm making right now is about. People misinterpret it. The question in our current system of government is almost never, can he do it? It's, does he have the willpower to do it? Is he going to make a sustained campaign towards this end? Or is political backlash and his own ego and whatever else going to make him back down? It's never a question of means. These people have the means to do some insane shit right now. If J.D. Vance becomes president tomorrow, if Stephen Miller became president tomorrow, the way that they have destroyed the apparatus of the state, they could be doing some crazy shit right now. It's just that Trump is fucking stupid and lazy and old. So that tempers things a little bit for us. Bring Kilam. Yeah, I'm down to bring him up, but like, what do you want to discuss? Just give me a brief rundown in the chat. Because I'm only live for like 2 hours maybe, and I want to cover this Channel 5 video. So just let me know what the topic is, and if I'm interested, you can hop on and we can discuss it. Democrats got caught cheating in Georgia. Oh, really? I must have missed that. Which one was that? Was that the document that Trump released that said that China interfered to hurt the Biden campaign? Was it the one that proved that Venezuela didn't have the capacity to alter American election results? Was it the one where the whole page was redacted? Where did I miss? I must have missed the Georgia election fraud you're claiming that was discovered. I think there was a comment you made that concerned him. Can't speak for him though. Have you seen the David debates against leftists? I've caught bits and pieces of them. Clarification on when Fuentes became a Marxist. I've never argued that Nick Fuentes is a Marxist. He's like a neo-Nazi, a white ethno-nationalist, like far-right person. Fuentes is not on the left. Yeah, you can explain. What's up? Real quick, how old are you?
I'm 26.
Okay, what's up?
Is my background noisy or anything?
You're fine, go ahead.
Okay, no problem. So you had said something about it was you didn't bring up Nick Fuentes initially. It was like at the tail end. So if you could clarify for me,
Was this today or a different stream?
yeah, this was like in the last 5 minutes.
Oh, okay. Yeah, what did I say?
you were talking about like some of the discourse that was happening with leftists and you had
Mm-hmm.
and Marxists specifically,
Mm-hmm.
and you were talking about how Nick Fuentes was one of the like I don't know if you were saying that he was a Marxist or if you were saying
I've
that
never.
he has the same
Nick
commun
Fuentes is not a Marxist. I would never say that. So
those were the words that came out your mouth. If you
I'm
let me
live on
finish.
YouTube. You can rewind my stream and you can find if the timestamp and we can watch
I'm
it.
on TikTok. This happened in the last 5 minutes. It was literally when you were having the discourse about Marxists
I
and
said Nick
communicating.
Fuentes is a Marxist.
Yeah, that's what I was hearing, and I wanted to address it. It was right before you had brought
Sure,
up the
I'll pull
last
up my
guest.
live right now and we can listen. You're sure you didn't mishear me? Because I know for a fact I don't think Nick Fuentes is a Marxist.
I was
Unless
trying
it
to
was like a
explain,
brain
and
fart
you
and I
kept on.
totally.
Yeah, I don't know. That's what I was asking for clarification
Oh,
on.
yeah, so I can just clarify. Nick Fuentes is obviously not a Marxist. I would never say that.
Yeah, that's what you're saying now. I'm saying a few minutes ago,
Okay,
that's
so then you
not
don't
what
want
you
to
said.
clarify. You're saying answer for what you said, which is your interpretation of what I said. So that's why I'm pulling it up.
I'm
Or do you not want me to pull it up?
I wanted you to pull it up, but I don't get
Yeah,
why you're being so defensive about me trying to explain what I
I
was trying to talk to you about.
you explained it, and I gave you my answer, which is I don't think he's a Marxist. Now I'm pulling up the clip. Is there an issue with anything I've said?
Yes, because I
Okay,
was initially saying that you said something which you claimed that you didn't, and you're saying that you don't know that you said it.
it's not
I
something I
heard what I
believe. So
said.
if you tell me I said it, I'm gonna obviously raise an eyebrow and go back and play the VOD, right? Which should be able to
Okay,
clarify all this.
you can play the VOD, bro.
Okay. An interesting question about it. Let's see. If you start defending Mao, then I the DSA. If you remember the DSA or remember anything else, I'm asking you. Okay, but like, do you believe in certain liberal values? And if you start defending Mao, then I have an answer to my question. Okay. That's the actual dividing line is maybe the Mao thing more than are you in DSA. There's plenty of people in DSA, plenty of people who call themselves leftists. And I made the mistake before of just assuming like if you call yourself a leftist, you're like an anti-electoral illiberal person. That's just not true. You know what the topic was? You want me to play the whole thing?
It was right around there. You were,
Okay, sure.
it's
Let's
coming
keep
up.
listening.
In 2028, but maybe they're to my left in economic policy. But as long as you agree we exist within the context of a free society that is not an authoritarian society where people can make free associations and decisions economically and socially, then we're on the same team for now because Trump is in opposition to that. Are you post MMT? I mean, I don't subscribe to any one school of economics wholeheartedly, so I can't hear what you're saying. Is my audio not working on YouTube? But yeah, when it comes to MMT, I'm sure there's aspects of MMT that I'd like or specific conclusions MMT would draw that I might agree with, but I'm not going to like wholesale endorse or condemn MMT. Is he running for a third or fourth term? I doubt it. And this is something that people are surprised when I say this because if anyone's been sounding the alarm about Trump's authoritarianism, it's been me. Look at my second pin TikTok. I hate to say I told you so, but like,
Are you
I feel
sure
like
it was during this part?
anything, I undersold it a little bit. I'm saying
Yeah,
Trump's
it
too late
was.
to run for
You
a third
literally
term.
mentioned Nick Fuentes when discussing Marxists, and I was confused because I was
I
like,
mentioned
why are
Nick
you
Fuentes when
associating?
I was talking about dog whistling. I was saying Nick Fuentes is less overt now. Now he does a lot of dog whistling stuff to peddle his image in the mainstream.
You were
That was a bit
talking
after
about
this.
Marxists in the exact same breath. I don't know if it
Well,
was
the
like
sentences might have been next to each other, but your claim is that I called Nick Fuentes a Marxist, which is a very different claim than the sentences were next to each other.
I was asking for clarification. That was all I was coming up here to ask
No,
for.
I understand, and I immediately clarified, but then instead of saying, oh, okay, that makes sense, you said no, but you said something else. You actually didn't accept my clarification.
I did accept your
Oh,
clarification.
so then what
I
was the
did
purpose
say
of me pulling up the VOD back then if you accept my
because
clarification?
you initially denied it. We were listening
That's
to
my
hear it back.
clarification is the denial. I don't think Nick Fuentes is a Marxist.
You asked, so
I can keep playing the
when you
VOD
asked
if
me,
you want.
can I can I respond without
Please,
interruption,
go ahead.
please? Like 30 seconds.
Please, go ahead.
You asked me when did you say that? Was it today or was it
Mm-hmm.
another day? I said it was in this live and it
Yep.
was on the VOD. You brought up your VOD to
Mm-hmm.
me as proof of if you want, you can go back and see. And I said, okay, let's play it back.
Mm-hmm. And you said it was just coming up at this part, but then I started talking about MMT and Trump, so maybe it comes after this. And that's why I asked you, do you remember specifically the conversation? If not, I can just play the first 20 minutes of the VOD or however long I've been live so far, half an hour.
No, it was literally when within me coming requesting up, it was within 5 minutes of the conversation. It was coming up.
So was it like extremely recent or was it towards the beginning?
It was extremely recent. I haven't been here more than 15 minutes.
That he wants to pass the SAVE Act. He's laying the groundwork. Let's see. With the Democratic Party, like, was it before that guest hopped on? Or
I think
after?
it was after. It
Okay.
was like right
Cool.
after.
Perfect.
In 2025, had the Democrat having like an expand, it could actually replicate. But yeah, but even if it income people can't go out to the polls, and
I don't know why your chat is on me like this. I was literally just bringing up a point of contention. I'm okay if you didn't say that he wasn't if you didn't say Nick Fuentes is a Marxist
I
and
didn't.
that's not what you're affirming right now. then I'm fine with that.
That's
I
what I
was
said
just
since you
telling you
first
what I
hopped on
heard.
the live.
I wasn't
But
addressing you, more
you've been,
so
I
your
guess, trying
chat
to like
that's
low
been.
key say that either I'm lying or I forgot what I said, but I actually did say it. So I'm just
I'm
trying to
not saying anything
clarify.
towards you, Adam. I'm saying something to your chat that's being ableist as fuck right now.
Who's being ableist? I'll mute them.
This Tralia who called me slow for trying to get clarification on something that I thought was concerning.
Wait, I just want to be clear. Do you still need clarification?
I wasn't talking to you, Adam. I literally prefaced what I just said by saying this is towards your chat
I know,
that's
but
been calling
the
me
conversation
antagonist.
that you're having with my chat, and if anyone's being ableist, you're getting banned. If you're using slurs, ableism, it's always been my rule in this chat. To the extent that you're talking to my chat, and my chat's talking to you, it's about this, right? Which is whether I deny that I said that. So I'm just trying to clarify. I would assume that if you just wanted to clarify, then the way that conversation would go, and tell me if you disagree, is you'd hop on and say, hey, did you say this thing? And I said, no, I didn't say that thing. You'd be like, oh, I must have misheard. And then I say, okay, cool. But you said, no, you did say that. You did say that. So then you're actually not interested in my clarification. You're interested in asserting your interpretation of events. And instead of us getting into a fight about it, I'm just trying to clarify what actually happened.
I was also trying to clarify what was happening, but this
Mm-hmm.
isn't just a conversation between me and you. This is a conversation between me and you on the internet with a
Yep.
third party looking in,
Yep.
which is your chat that was
Mm-hmm.
also commenting on the situation.
Right.
I addressed you and then I addressed your chat.
Okay. So you want me to
Are
keep
we
playing
good?
this, or like where do you want to go from here?
Are we good?
I'm fine, yeah.
Because your chat seems to think that I'm slow and I
I
have
think
a
my chat
cognitive
is upset with you
disability.
because you kind of came off extremely bad faith when you hopped on. I've been chill with you. Can you see how you might have come off in a bad faith way or no?
No, but we're gonna
No?
have a difference of opinion on that, so
Sure.
it is
And
what it
when
is.
people have difference of opinion, they can discuss it respectfully. So why do you think I'm wrong when you say you came off bad faith? Or would you like me to first explain why I think so?
I disagree with your assertion,
You
or
don't even know
your
I would assert that yet, or do you?
I disagree with your conclusion that I was bad faith. I believe that I wasn't coming up in bad faith. I
Okay.
wanted clarification.
What is your definition of clarification?
I wanted to know if you believe that that one, that Nick Fuentes was a Marxist, and
Mm-hmm.
two, if you were aware that you had just accidentally said it, if you weren't aware that you
Okay.
did.
So just let me clarify. You're asking two things. One is, do I believe that? But you're asserting as a fact that I did say it. And you're asking, did you mean it when you said it?
Yes, that's what I
Okay, so then
heard.
I'm disputing that I even said that, and I'm playing this back because the only context in which those words would leave my mouth is if I literally had like a brain fart and misspoke. If it's not something I believe, why would I say the words? So that's why I'm playing it back. If I say it in the audio, then I'll say, oh, my bad, I misspoke. If I didn't say it, then you'll say, oh, I don't know why I was lying about that or whatever. Right?
And
Then we
did
can just
I
see who's right.
agree or disagree with you playing the audio back?
Say it again.
Did I agree or disagree with you playing the audio
You
back?
seem like you're fine with it, so I'm going to continue. Still
Okay.
cool?
Okay, we have Killam and we have Matt Nuclear's top guy. And then we have Zen. Can y'all let me know in the chat what you guys want to talk about? And if it takes
So this is right after the guest left, and I think you said it was after the guest left. So let's see.
I'll let you up. Otherwise, I'm switching the screen share and we're watching the Channel 5 video that just came out. Ice? Are you pro ice or anti ice? If you're anti ice, then we agree. There's nothing to talk about.
No, it was before this.
Citizen proof, real ID.
This is right after the guest left, though. You said it was after the guest left.
It was something with. Were there two guests up or was it one guest?
I believe it's only been one guest, right? Can chat check me on that? I think it's only been one guest so far.
I remember hearing two 18-year-olds. Like, and it's getting away from us. Like, I wasn't responding to you in that last exchange. I was responding to the chat that was leveling some really disgusting language towards me because I wanted clarification on what I just discussed with you.
So
I
I
have
just
no
want to
problem
clarify
with you,
then, was
Adam.
it after that last guest left or was it before the last guest left?
It was. I can remember what was being said at the time.
Okay.
I can't really pinpoint the time frame because some time's passed.
Eli is
But
saying it's before. Okay, no worries. We can check before.
okay.
Him criticizing Republicans in ways that I might criticize Republicans or someone else on the left might criticize Republicans. Was now versus him saying I want universal healthcare. So that's why that's just it's a long story apparently. But I disagree. These people exist not to expand the tent, but to hijack the party. It's literally been their goal for so long. To hijack the party, you have to be able to like. Here's the thing: people draw the comparison between the Tea Party and what's happening right in the Democratic Party. There are some similar mechanisms at play, but like people say, history doesn't repeat, it rhymes. And like I haven't seen proof that like a DSA candidate can win in like a purple area. And maybe I've missed an election that's happened here. But if DSA is relegated to like the bluest of the blue areas, and the people that are actually winning these offices are not the Mao stands, they're just like to my left on economics and stuff. Then that's a question of how far can the left flank of the party go? And like again, I'm less concerned about how left they go than I am about like how illiberal they go. Okay, someone's in the request. What did you want to chat about? New account. New account. That's a red flag. You just want to join to the end or something. So what do you want to? Dems are still corporate shells. Okay, bro. I just don't know what to do with that statement. That's such a reductive statement. I do raise my eyebrows.
Yeah,
First
I
of all, we're in
joined
private,
right
so you
after
can
this,
criticize
so this
Democrats,
is
obviously.
probably like
But when people
it's
are really
probably
defining
2
their
minutes
brand
after
solely
this
on
at max.
Okay.
shitting on Democrats, that's where I go, okay, yeah, it's a primary, make your arguments and stuff, but like, let's not lose sight of like the actual bad guys here, right? I want to shout about how Trump is good for the economy. Okay.
Yo, what's good, man?
What's up? I recognize your voice. I feel like this is.
Oh, yeah, I know you recognize my voice.
How old are you?
I'm 18.
You think Trump's good for the economy?
Yeah, I think he's absolutely amazing.
Are you trolling right now? Or Democrats are beholden to keeping the current power structure in place as capitalists. Yeah, okay. So, what do you mean? You mean the power structure of capitalism is in like people are allowed to own
Yeah, that was my
firms? Like
comment.
firms can be privately owned. Yeah, I don't want to ban private ownership. So.
Huh?
That was my comment that you just read.
Okay. So it was after this that I said the Nick Fuentes thing?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
I guess I'm guilty of that too, right? Like I'm not against socialization of firms if you want to work with cooperatives. I'm not against public options being offered in a lot of sectors. I'm not against even potentially making certain things public utilities. I mean, it would depend on the sector, but I'm not in favor of banning private ownership of companies. So that's what you mean by they want to uphold it. I think probably the vast majority of Americans don't want to ban private ownership of companies. So, but promises on the campaign trail and no action except lining their pockets once in office, both sides. And bro, do you want to hop into requests? I'd love to discuss this with you. It doesn't have to be adversarial. I'm not have a chill conversation, but this is just this is an extremely toxic view to be spreading, especially near an election. Like this breeds nothing but like apathy. And to the extent that there's like a lot of these bad things that have been happening in our government, how much of it is that like old people are on top of it? They're voting in every single election. They're showing up for the local dog catcher election, and they're micromanaging every single conversation about zoning, right? And then there's all these young people who I don't want to generalize, but are like elections, you know, left, right, Democrat, Republican, same shit. And it's like, dude, vote, stop. Like if you don't like the Democratic Party, like go vote in primaries for people who are to the left. Go vote for Abdul Said in Michigan. Go vote for I mean, who else is there? I mean, Mamdani in New York City, which even a lot of moderates like Mamdani as well. So yeah, this conversation is annoying to me because it feels like it just never is happening in a productive way. It's always some kind of adjudication of like streamer proxy wars. Like how many of these conversations are just proxy wars for like Hassan versus Destiny or something? It's like, okay, bro, I guess. There was all Jubilee where Westmore convinced 20 non-voters. They're also insufferable. Here's where I disagree with people who think they're on my side here. I don't like writing large swaths of people off. I can write off someone like Hassan Piker and then say a lot of his fans are not like him. They just don't know the full extent. I don't even know the full extent of what Hassan believes. I feel like I've seen so much about it. So like, if you're apathetic towards voting or you are only consuming, I make the same argument for MAGA. If you live in a media echo chamber and all the content you're consuming is reinforcing a certain worldview, I'm very hesitant to just meet you and be like, you fucking idiot. Fuck you, you're dumb. It's like, no, I'm actually going to first poke and prod a little bit and see why you believe what you believe, how good faith you are. And if you're a good faith actor, I tend to believe that if you're on the left, you probably share broadly values that like the state should take action to pursue more economic justice, whatever you want to call it. And the question there is the means. So I would encourage my audience, like if you see a non-voter or someone who says they hate Democrats, I'm not saying don't debate them. I'm not saying they're not stupid, but let's not lead with that. Let's not open with that. Let's try to ask some clarifying questions first, because that's how you build a coalition, right? I feel the same way. I really hate cutting out the majority of people. Yeah. It's just there's different ways to do politics, and saying fuck you is just not. It's usually not how you win elections. You usually want to be like, hey man, like come on, join my team, come on. Okay, Nico and Cole, let me know in the chat what y'all want to discuss. If I'm interested by it, we'll discuss it. Otherwise, I'm going to pivot to watching the Biden Nick Fuentes video, which is what the purpose of the stream was. Nico and Cole. Calling Nico and Cole to aisle 3. What did y'all want to chat about? An interesting question about a poll. And yeah, I will say Mao Zedong dictator fits so tough. Bro, like, people on the left, we know what dog whistles are, right? We're not all going to pretend like we don't know what a dog whistle is, right? Like when Greg Bovino wears that super Nazi adjacent coat, all of us were like, shut the fuck up when Trump supporters were like, what, you can't wear the long green jackets now? It's like, okay, when you're talking about remigration and you're wearing a jacket like that, I'm going to draw some associations I might not draw otherwise, if you didn't know the history of the jacket. So people who are like, what, you can't wear certain types of suits now? No, you can wear them, but if the guy wearing them likes Mao, then I'm going to ask follow-up questions probably, right? LMAO, of course, last name is Khan. I know, right? I don't even know who this person is or what they believe, but I know not to take them seriously. Okay, Nico. You get a very vague recounting of what you want to talk about. But how old are you?
Hey, what's up, man?
What's up?
I'm 18.
Okay, what do you want to chat about?
All right, so
Is it after the second guest? Hello?
My fault. Yeah, it might be.
Because that's where we just rewinded from, and I didn't catch anything there either after this guest.
how the Democratic
Like, that's where we were, and then I went back because you said it was actually before then. I know the context. I've mentioned Nick Fuentes, and I started the live today to react to his Hunter Biden video that just came out, and then I talked about how he dog whistles more now. I didn't call him a Marxist.
Okay, I might have to catch back the stream because I didn't hear it there too. So if I misheard it, then I apologize. That really is my fault. I
Okay.
misheard it and you clarified.
Sure.
Thank you.
Yep. In the chat, let's be chill. Let's be chill. That was as painful for me as it was for you, but let's be chill. Okay, let's be nice. And to people saying that that was a waste of time, it's not, because there's a factual, just correct answer to that question. It's not an opinion question. It's just a fact question. I can't.
Ask me.
I can't even conceive of uttering the words that Nick Fuentes is a Marxist. I don't know in what context I would say that.
You said you.
Okay. Any other guest requests? No. He should have taken your word. I agree. You got to stream longer for wasting our time on this bullshit. Even if you said it, what matters more is what you mean. But I would argue that if I didn't say it, that also actually would matter a lot. It's one thing if I misspoke. It's another thing if I never said the thing and then I'm being accused of saying the words. Well, both are important, but typically if someone's going to accuse me of something that I don't agree with and then say that I said it verbatim, I'm gonna get in the trenches. I'm gonna actually fact check whether I said that. And if I misspoke somewhere, then that's where I'll clarify what I mean and I'll say, oh, maybe I misspoke. And yeah, he said he wanted clarification, not proof. He apologized at the end. It still came off as bad faith to me, but like, whatever. I don't know. I don't think he was a Fuentes supporter. I don't know. I think someone earlier said he's a communist. Are you in Chicago or not? Not yet, but lock in. It's coming soon. The market, Chicago, actually, it's cooling down now a little bit, but there was a span of like 3-4 weeks where I was like, holy shit, bro. Shit is bad. But lock in. It's coming soon. When it happens, I'm not even going to announce it. You're just going to hop on my live one day. I'm going to be somewhere else. He is a communist? Okay. Okay, if there's no more debates people want to have, I guess we can switch over to watching the Hunter Biden Fuentes thing. Or if anyone has any last minute questions or comments. For everyone saying I owe you a longer live, this was never really going to be a debate live. This is just my starting screen. We're going to react to some news and stuff. But we can do debates if people want to do them. But I've just kind of probably a high rise. I mean, I'm not against like a loft or something. It depends on the rent and the location and stuff. Just pros and cons. We'll see. I'm also very like risk averse. Like if I'm gonna move somewhere, I want to have like 14 months of rent and savings, like just in case. Like you never know, month to month income as a creator can be very like erratic. So you're edging us, saying the video's coming out in 3. Genuinely, if it could come out sooner, it would. I'm working like full time on this video. The thing is, it's like it's like an original concept. Like I don't have a lot to work with here. I'm like reading a lot of primary material and then I have to take that primary material and then synthesize it into my own opinions and takes. And then I have to take my own opinions and takes and find out the best way to frame them. And then I have to take that framing and find out the best way to condense it into a YouTube video. And once I do that, I have to figure out the pacing and the like B-roll clips and the editing style and the tone and the theme. So there's like, it's just a very, the time is it's being well spent. So if you get edged for 3 weeks, I promise the edging will stop soon. Okay. Rent should only be 30% of your income. Yeah, I think that's 33% is the rule that most apartments and like owners would have. 33%. Right. Okay. Keep saying it's like your best psychological horror for a while, and now you're saying it's out in maybe are those contradictory? I'm confused by that comment. Okay, I'm gonna switch over to the YouTube video. I'm just saying you're hyping us up and then making us wait one more month. Here's the thing, right? If I'm working on like a very big project that takes me a while, there's 2 ways people that are in my community can experience that. One is that they're just like, why is he like barely posting? Like, where is he? And the other is like, I give updates sometimes like, hey, I didn't like fall off the face of the earth. I'm working on this project and I'll do live sometimes and post TikTok sometimes. So I do that in the interest of like keeping people up to date that I didn't fall off the face of the earth, but it's not meant to be like I'm like edging you guys, I promise.
You said you want to ask me, why are you a Nazi?
Inclusion has been our greatest strength.
This video is like such a source of rage bait for me. Like This pissed me off so much.
has been our greatest strength.
White people do.
Because Hunter Biden did something that, like, in any other conversation, I can respect it, but it's like when you're talking, your live is not eligible for recommendation because it contains unoriginal or reproduced content. Bro, I just switched to screen share. Is it because of this? Is Channel 5 copywriting this? Yeah, I'm appealing that. We're appealing that. Oh, yeah, I mean, as long as the video comes out 10x, if a video takes me this long, I'm never putting something out that I don't think is like the best thing I've ever done. Like, again, the time is going into something, and short form comes when it can come. It's like I also don't want to force it and drop like bullshit short form content, but it's something where it's like when I drop the long form video, I'd like to think people will say, "Oh, okay, I see why it took so long, and I see why it was worth the wait or whatever." But the truth is, with that long form YouTube content, the Ben Shapiro video and even the Homelander one before it, that comes from me making what I feel like making and like not really caring what anyone says they want me to make. Not because I don't care about my audience, but it's like there's a certain incentive structure that can form when you're doing political commentary where everyone's talking about the same 3 topics and everyone's using the same 10 talking points, and it's all on the creator side of doing that. It is just so easy to get burnt out. Like day 10,000 of why Trump makes me want to die. Like it's just at a certain point, if you want to do this in a sustainable fashion, especially if there's things like in my example where I think like there's so much more I could be doing that I'm not doing, I would rather just go off the grid and make something fully from like my own energy and like what do I care about, what do I want to present it as, and then just come back and be like, here, take it, instead of being like every day like, oh, what TikTok should I make and like what are people talking about. I can do that here and there, but it's not like what I want to do as a career. It's like it's very transient and like hollow. I don't know. So I appreciate your channel. You're not robotic and repetitive. Thank you. That's what I like. It's hard to fight against the incentive structures of this space, which is, by the way, why I love Chorus. Because joining Chorus gave me like a foundation financially and in terms of just like connections and stuff where I'm like, I don't have to worry about, am I posting 3 TikToks a week? I actually can have the space and time to go work on something, you know? Media be moving fast. That's where it's going. But here's the thing, right? When you see a video in your feed, and this is not throwing shade at anyone because this content is extremely important. And yeah, Chorus says pay us. It's like an incubator program, Brian Tyler Cohen's incubator program. There was a big controversy about it like late last year, which was a complete bullshit controversy in hindsight. Now that I'm in it, I know it was bullshit. What was I saying? When you see a video on your screen of like, oh my God, guys, Spain's World Cup picture, they AI Trump out of the image, and oh my God, did you see the ballroom? These are important videos. Like people need to know this stuff, but it's like in 5 years, are you going to remember that one video? Or in 2 years, is that like one video going to like make an impact on how you think about things? No, because it's like very transient. It's like very in the moment, and our news cycle moves so quickly that when I'm thinking about what kind of impact I want to have with my content, I want to put something out that is like not just giving you information, but like changing the way you think about something or look at something, because that actually has a lingering impact on you, like months in the future, hopefully years, right? So the pivot I'm making here is like I want to make content that just like has a longer shelf life and is more potent, I guess. And yeah, it's further along the pipeline. Like it's all part of an ecosystem.
You feel like we are being boxed out.
A 26-year-old white kid doesn't feel like he has access because he's been canceled, and the problem is black people.
I didn't say the problem's black people.
Well, you just did, Nick.
Did they hit you up or did you approach? I applied. They had applications.
So the problem is crime, and we know who's doing the crime in Chicago.
Do you get what I'm saying?
Yes.
About the Holocaust things?
Oh, about that.
We get to say whatever we want on the internet. We get to deny the Holocaust.
As far as Jews are concerned in general, I think that everybody in the country should be treated with dignity and respect and have their civil rights.
Like, what do you think about somebody like Mamdani?
Personally, I don't like him. Like, for example, on 4th of July, when he takes the opportunity to sit there with, let's be honest, not a single white person.
First of all, is that not a white guy? Right there? Second of all, who gives, like... He gave a speech. Not a single white person I could see on camera. Oh no.
About fucking Donald Trump. There's no ideological core to Donald Trump.
No, I agree with you.
Don Jr. got the largest loan ever given by the Department of Defense.
Vance owes his entire political career to Peter Thiel, whichever firm is the one to develop ASI.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
My appeal got denied. I guess I've never gotten denied for just reacting to a YouTube video on stream. This is why y'all need to watch me on YouTube, bro. TikTok is just cooked. TikTok is just a dog shit platform.
Confer dictatorial-like powers upon the CEO of that company.
Everything that we think about the way in which we exist in the world completely changes.
Increasingly with Uber, Airbnb, banking apps, you can't live your life without the tech platforms.
Everything that AI is built on is ours. That's what they're stealing from us. I want to find common ground of how much of a shithead Donald Trump is. We can get there, okay?
The kind of first question that I had whenever I caught wind that you wanted to do an interview like this is, why now? What made you want to sit down for this kind of interview?
Well, I think it's an interesting conversation to have all of us here. And, I
Here's
think
the thing on why is Biden giving him the time of day. If he gave him the time of day and then cooked the fuck out of him and embarrassed him and exposed that ideology, I would say based. But this was just PR.
moment in our country when there's a lot of realignment.
Which is why everyone hates on the Piers Morgan interview of Nick Fuentes. It's like one of the only good ones I've seen where he was actually forced to answer for the crazy shit he said.
I think that
like, to be clear about Nick Fuentes, I'm pretty sure this guy has said that he like purposefully presents himself as like more moderate and more normal to mainstream audiences so that he can climb the ladder and that he's not going to go mask off yet. What does he say? Don't show your true power level. These are like some of the most dangerous fucking people in politics. The ones who fully understand when to put the mask on and when to take it off. Dangerous people.
people recognize, especially
it's also always the ideologues that think this way. It's always the ideologues that do this stuff.
Past couple
like
of
really fucking hardcore illiberal ideologues who like want to slither their way into government and then go mask off and go full fucking authoritarian.
I'm like
you can just watch Nick Fuentes talk about like what he wants Trump to be doing right now, which is like invoke the Insurrection Act and go arrest all the liberals.
conventional critic, maybe, of what's happening. And so I think it'll be an interesting, productive conversation. I think it'll be different.
But I mean, specifically, because we kind of share a publicist.
I heard that Jake Lang, I agree.
Wanted to kind of... Okay, we have a publicist that you hit up, and you said that you wanted to talk to someone who would give you kind of a fair shot to like clear up some things and maybe some misconceptions about you and the things you believe.
Absolutely, yeah.
See?
Yeah, I think...
Whose idea was this then? Nick Fuentes hit up his publicist and said, hey, I want to clear up some of the misconceptions about me. I want to clarify where I really stand. Oh, you mean you don't like your reputation as a racist, so you want to try to ease people's fears while not changing any of your beliefs?
Okay, we have a publicist that you hit up, and you said that you wanted to talk to someone who would give you kind of a fair shot to like clear up some things and maybe some misconceptions about you and the things you believe.
It's literally PR. He's reaching out to his, which is like fine. You can do PR and stuff, but it's like just the audience should be under no illusions as to like what the purpose of this type of video is supposed to be.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that, I'm somebody who, I think like you, actually, maybe we have this in common, is kind of pigeonholed in a certain way for things that we've done in the past or things that we've said.
I'm a crackhead.
But I'm racist, right?
I got pigeonholed there. Mine is true, yeah.
Yeah, well, mine's a little true. Maybe a little no.
Maybe a little no. Yes. Like, man.
Yes.
Like, this is why Nick Fuentes, JD, even though he hates JD Vance, there are certain people that just every alarm bell that can go off in my head goes off when I see them. What are examples? The alarm bells go off strongest for me with Nick Fuentes and JD Vance, as much as these people are supposedly not on the same side, where it's like, this is an extremely, just call it like it is, an extremely intelligent, extremely well-spoken person with very abhorrent beliefs who is really good at gauging what they can get away with socially and is really good at gauging the political moment. When I see smart people who believe bad things, that's where I'm like, oh, everyone's got to be looking at this because this is where it gets bad.
I think it'd be good to clear up some of the
smart people believe dangerous things. They get into power. That's when, like, JD Vance or Stephen Miller, if they were president, like, this would be a police state right now. It just would. Definitely with Stephen Miller. JD Vance might be a little bit more strategic, but
presentations and put out something accurate.
So what do you think is the most misrepresented thing about you?
Well, I think really the whole image everybody has about me. You know, when you mentioned me, I think on a recent show, you said you want to ask me, why are you a Nazi?
Yeah.
And that's how everybody knows me. Everybody thinks of me as a white supremacist Nazi, and I don't think that's really true at all. I think that we definitely have different values. I mean, you're more from the left, I'm more from the right, but I don't think I'm a hater. I'm not a hateful person.
It is Heil Hitler Friday. Heil Hitler, all my niggas Nazis.
Hitler was very fucking cool.
Yes, I do.
One of them.
And I'm tired of pretending he's not.
So what's
I just want to clarify. I just want to clear up some misconceptions about me that like I'm a Nazi and stuff, but like also I think Hitler's cool. Oh, yeah, for sure. Sure, dude.
Yes, I do.
One of them.
And I'm tired of pretending he's not.
So what's the thing about, I guess, traditional Nazism that you think you disagree with the most?
Well, it's a non-Christian ideology. So, I mean, look, I believe that race is real, as the Nazis did, but I don't think...
Okay. What do you disagree with the Nazis on? Me personally, I go to church on Sunday. I don't think Hitler was a big churchgoer. Like the race stuff, like, we both think it's real, but I think they were bad Christians.
Ideology. So, I mean, look, I believe that...
It's like... Our politics right now is so cooked beyond belief, which is another reason I'm doing the long form stuff. Is it's like, to a certain extent, if you want to help fix this, you have to leave the context of the discourse and inject things into the discourse from outside of it. If you exist for too much inside the discourse, it's like a closed energy system. There's only so much happening in here, and there's just certain mechanisms that are perpetuating certain types of things. I feel like you have to sometimes step outside of this stuff for a little bit and exist in the real world and exist in your own thoughts for a little bit, and then come back into it with something fresh. Otherwise, it's like we're just rinsing and repeating the same shit over and over again, and it just gets worse every time.
Race is real, as the Nazis did, but I don't think it utterly defines a person. As a Christian, I think we're all created beings. I do believe there's such a thing as a universal human community, and so I think it's a cruel ideology. I've said this on my show, by the way, but I mean, that would maybe be the fundamental.
Did you always feel that way?
Always, yeah, absolutely.
So even whenever you were younger and stuff?
I did, but you know, you got to recognize times have changed. 10 years ago, we had a totally different political world. The regulation and policing of speech, you know, what you would call wokeness, I think was at an all-time high when I got started as a very young man.
What would you would call wokeness?
Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, and I think, I mean, would you not say there were some
him,
excesses maybe in those days?
Yeah, you know, in those days,
What could, like, okay, let's just, for the sake of argument, let's just steelman, because these people, even if you steelman their case, it's fucking... Okay, let's just say, during peak woke, let's say that there was someone who got canceled wrongly. They shouldn't have gotten canceled. They made an oopsie. They said sorry. They were a little boy. Like, let's just say they were genuinely unjustly canceled. Okay, that's an excess of the woke. What's an excess of the far right? Oh, like Alex Preddy got, like, shot in the back and killed multiple times? Like, lawful asylum seekers were, like, cuffed and their heads were shaved and they were shipped off to a foreign slave labor camp in defiance of a judge's orders? Oh, like Mahmoud Khalil, who is a green card holder, was detained and held in a cell, and he missed the birth of his first child for expressing opinions the government didn't like? Okay, but, like, the woke had its excesses too. People on Twitter were canceled. And it's like, I'm sure there's a conversation to be had about the excesses of the left. I'm not having it with a far right person because they use it as a pretext to do insane shit. That's the conversation I'll have with someone on the left, maybe off camera, right? Where I'm not feeding fuel to the right-wing narrative machine. But you have to be mindful when someone who is, like, diametrically opposed to your worldview brings up any kind of critique on your side, even if you might think the critique is legitimate, be aware of the context in which they're bringing it up. Because once you start giving credence to it, they're never going to give it to you, right? If Biden says, okay, but what about the excesses of the right, like what you guys are doing to immigrants? Nick's not going to call that an excess. He's going to say, they're not going far enough. I want excesses.
Wasn't doing too well.
I feel like no one is, like, properly equipped to have political conversations right now, whether or not I agree with them politically. It just, every time I see people talking about politics on the internet, it just makes me want to kirk myself. I don't know what the last time was. I saw a conversation and I'm like, oh, he carried himself well. Good.
Much attention. Anyway, I would love to hear, and I'm not asking you to like retract everything that you've ever said and all, you know, or anything, but I said that I would love to talk to you because number one, I told you this, is that I think you're really smart. And I think that with that comes in a real responsibility. And you have an audience. And I have a friend whose son is my daughter's age, you know, maybe 28, you know, your age.
Bro, I hate to keep pausing this. Listen, there's a place for this. I understand what Hunter Biden is doing, that style of conversation, there's a place for it. The last place for it is with Nick Fuentes. I cannot think of a worse place to employ this type of conversation. Hunter Biden's approaching this with like, listen, I think you said some things I don't like, but like at the end of the day, I think we have shared values and shared humanity. And like, I just want to get through to you on like a human to human level, man. Like, come on. I know you don't actually want to hurt people, right? I think he does, right? Like this, we're people at the end of the day. And like, listen, man, can you just acknowledge you've been a little mean? This is how you talk to someone who is like mostly on your side, not how you talk to like Nick Fuentes. And I don't think it disarms him. I think it gives him, oh yes, I get to get away with some stuff because this guy is not going to hold my feet to the fire on anything. Honestly, this type of tact, and this is why I don't debate people on the left like communists and stuff. Anytime you've seen me hop on David's live as well, I've done it a few times because it's just like he's a stronger man than I am for dealing with that on like a close to daily basis, right? But like if I'm talking to someone who says they're on the left, including a crazy communist person, there I might lead with like, listen, we should have similar values, right? So like, what do you mean when you say these illiberal authoritarian things, right? So like appealing to shared values with someone is important. Here's the thing. There's someone you disagree with. Everyone you disagree with, you're going to have some overlap on values. Some, right? Like, I'm sure Nick Fuentes thinks you shouldn't walk around kicking puppies, right? And you can approach Nick Fuentes like, listen, man, we have our disagreements. At the end of the day, we don't want to kick puppies. And like, we can start there and work from there. That does not work when the other guy, his whole job is to lie to you and try to make himself seem less crazy. You've just given him on a silver platter the context he wants to operate within. It is in my opinion, it is only useful to start an adversarial or like a disagreeing conversation with shared values or shared beliefs if the purpose of the conversation is to isolate the things you don't agree on and then go to people with similar values. Like maybe it's easier to if someone comes on here and they're like, they say I'm a socialist, right? And this is an imaginary person, but let's say they're like very authoritarian and they want to like come into power and then do like some kind of violent takeover and like establish this socialist thing, whatever it is, right? I might have some significant overlap in audiences with that person. So my role in that conversation is there's a sizable portion of their audience that likes them because of the stuff I agree with them on. So let me just immediately disarm that stuff. Let me come and be like, listen, I think we agree on like single payer healthcare and like workers' rights and labor unions, all this stuff. What I want to talk to you about is like this specific thing, because this is where you lose me. That's where it makes sense to disarm someone and to just take certain things off the table. Yeah, let's take all these areas of agreement off the table, which for a lot of people who watch you, now all the reasons they like you are off the table. And they're wondering what else is there. And then you make it clear like this person is an illiberal authoritarian person. I didn't mean for that to be too meandering, but like there's so much in how you should think about these conversations.
And he is a big fan of yours. And so by virtue of the relationship, I got to learn what it is that why he is a fan of yours. And none of it has to do with, I would hope you agree, like really egregious things that you've said in the past about the Holocaust or about,
Did the Jews ever talk about the 100 million whites that died in World War II? Or do they just bitch and moan about the so-called 6 million Jews that died?
And so it's just nice to poke holes in it and say, it's not 6 million.
6 million? I don't think so.
And I don't even know, I think I've heard you since kind of rescind a lot of that.
You can see that 6 million Jews died in the Holocaust.
Possibly more. Possibly, we're discovering all the time. So it could be, maybe even be more.
Everyone who watches Nick Fuentes knows this was sarcasm. I want to be... Everyone here, when they watch this Piers Morgan thing, everyone understood this was sarcasm, right? Oh yeah, possibly more than 6 million died, sure. Well, I think you've moderated your beliefs. You said 6 million. No one has media literacy. Isn't Hunter Biden a lawyer? You should be able to win these conversations, bro.
What he agrees with is kind of the anger about the situation that particularly your generation finds yourself.
Put me in, coach. I don't know who coach is, but like someone put me in with these people. Let me talk to them. Let me talk to Nick Fuentes. Let me talk to I would love to talk to some of these people, bro. I'd love to talk to Hassan Piker, by the way. If you would talk to me, I'd love to talk to him. Because that's like a big hot topic on the left right now. I'd love to have a chat with him. A nice friendly chat. Like Adam Mockler had a chat with him too.
I know that to be real. And I think that there, maybe my reasons for recognizing that anger as being legitimate and my targets are different than yours. I just wanted to hear from you.
Can you refute the crime stats Fuentes brought up? Yeah. The crime stats that Fuentes brought up in the Piers Morgan video where black people are committing crimes for the most part. And then Piers Morgan asked him, oh, so like more than half? It's not, actually. So, yeah, I would dispute that blacks are committing crimes for the most part. I would dispute that, actually. Yeah.
Say you were canceled. You were canceled by the right in 2016.
Yes.
I almost
it literally
like
was. Listen, Nick, I think you're a good kid.
Preparing to meet you now, is that your reaction to that was to just dig deeper and deeper into kind of the outsider, kind of radical, say anything for the purpose of generating, the attention to build an audience. Is that true? And it's not an accusation. I really mean it. I want this to be a conversation as much as possible.
I mean,
He's like falling. He's tripping over himself to be like, I don't want you to feel attacked. We're best friends, bro. Please just tell me you don't hate Jews, bro. Please.
Some truth to that, but I think that might be overstating it a little bit because I really got canceled by the right and the left.
Yeah.
And back in those days in 2017, you had these far left journalists at Huffington Post.
I will even go a step further and say, this doesn't mean you can't have a good faith conversation with someone you disagree with, but there's different ways of being good faith. This is good faith and conciliatory. You can be good faith and adversarial. You can be good faith and have conviction for what you believe in. In fact, in hindsight, I think it's aged like fine wine when I look back at it. My debate with Andrew Wilson, if you watch it back, I was like insanely good faith. But I was not conciliatory. I was good faith, but then I pushed him on every bullshit thing he said, which I think there's a purpose in doing that, which is that the audience is like, okay, this guy is like clearly trying to be honest. The other guy's like clearly lying. So I think like for the audience stuff, it can be, I generally think it's good to be good faith in pretty much every conversation. I don't think that it makes sense to be like actively trying to be malicious or deceptive in politics, but that doesn't mean you don't have to, that you can't be adversarial or care about optics or care about rhetoric. You can be good faith and still care about rhetoric and still care about challenging people who are wrong and still care about standing up for your ideals. Those are not mutually exclusive things. So I don't even want to say that the issue is that Hunter was good faith here. It's that he was conciliatory. I'm going to unsubscribe. I didn't know he cried and whined this much. Bro, when they started relating on being... I think I already read this. Don't if you've discussed yet, but curious to hear your perspective regarding Hassan Piker. civil war happening on the American left or like the Democratic Party or whatever is by and large a false dichotomy, because the Civil War exists on the upper rung of like political operatives and commentators and stuff. But I was making this point earlier. When you look at someone like Hassan, who my understanding is, this is someone who said that he would like ban private ownership of companies, right? Which is just like, that's just like an illiberal. You can be a socialist and believe in liberal values. Like, I want to go through the Congress to mandate something about worker representation. That's like, we can talk about that. For that type of topic, I don't think, maybe this is naive or wrong, I don't think that most people who casually watch Hassan Piker believe that. I think they're scrolling on TikTok and they see a clip of Hassan Piker shitting on some Republican or something. And the image of Hassan in their head is based on that. So that's why I'm hesitant to say Hassan Piker and all his fans, fuck you, we don't want you. No, well, no, some of his fans actually, come here. I promise you're better than this. You're not part of that. Like, I think there needs to be more of an effort to bring people into the fold by clarifying what the areas of disagreement are. I don't disagree on universal health care or workers' rights. I'm just like, I believe in like an open and free society. I believe in like representative democracy. I believe in pluralism. And if you agree with me on that, then we can talk about other stuff.
Watch.
I don't know if that answers your Hassan Piker question, by the way. I hope that wasn't like too long-winded.
See, and I really believe they were on a mission to find extremist rhetoric, the white nationalist, neo-Nazi boogeyman, all that kind of stuff. And they would look at someone like myself, 18, and if I was being serious or joking, things taken out of context, they would clip it, post it, and they wanted me to be the villain. And I think they wanted a lot of people to be the villain. I think the left, in a way, kind of created this climate where I think they pushed a lot of people farther to the right.
No, by the way, that very well may be true, but you gave them a lot of ammunition.
That's true.
You know, I mean, I hope that some of those things that you said in the past are not things that you believed in and that are you meant just to engender like a really radical kind of response. I mean, is that true or not?
Well, you know, again, I think that back in those days, you could not say anything. In 2018, cancel culture was so in overdrive. Any joke, any edgelording, anything like that, they would, first of all, there's no sense of humor.
I'm so old. I don't even, what's
okay, well, to break it down for you.
Notice how, maybe they get back to it. I don't remember every play-by-play of this video. They just completely left that. That is the central question when you're talking to Nick Fuentes.
That are, you meant just to engender like a really radical
like,
kind
what Hunter's asking him here is like, listen, all the crazy shit you've said, that's just like you're baiting people for a reaction, right? Like, that's just meant to be inflammatory, but it's purely hollow rhetoric, right? Like, you purely say those things, not because you believe any of them, but just to trigger people, right? And Nick Fuentes doesn't say right. He starts talking about cancel culture or some shit because he does believe a lot of that shit. It's not just meant to trigger people.
You meant just to engender like a really radical kind of response. I mean, is that true or not?
Well, you know, again, I think that back in those days, you could not say anything. In 2017, 2018, cancel culture was so...
This is just not at all addressing what he asked him.
Overdrive, any joke, any edgelording, anything like that, they would... First of all, there's no sense of humor.
I'm so old. I don't even...
Okay, well, to break it down for you, so the dawn of wokeness as it's known today, I think was in like the post-Trump era. After Trump won the election in 2016, there was a big movement to deplatform and kind of push...
No, I think to the extent that people talk about the phenomenon of like wokeness or like social justice warriors, that peaked at the end of the Obama era, beginning of the Trump era. That maybe it reached a fever pitch in 2019, 2020 or whatever as like a social phenomenon, but I don't think I was born in 2018. And to the extent that this thing had excesses, it was relegated to like Twitter and like small segments of academia, barely.
Those who, I guess the left feel like had galvanized them into the presidency. So there was this big idea that if you push people off mainstream social media platforms, they would go away. Now we know through Trump's reelection, that's not even true. But at the time, that was the mantra. Problematic viewpoints needed to be silenced, tucked away somewhere, and they would just sort of die in isolation. So I think that was the climate where you first got started, 2017. That time period was like crucial for getting people off.
He said that's not true. I mean, it's actually unclear. This is treated as like a conventional wisdom now that like the more you try to quiet someone, you know, the more popular the beliefs become. That can be possible in some cases, depending on like how widespread the belief is. The reason everyone is like fucking crazy now is because of COVID and social media. Like, it's literally that simple. It's not this complex, like, they suppressed ideas, but eventually the grassroots rose up. Like, no, it's like everyone was like on their phone for like a year and a half straight in their room. So everyone became fucking crazy. That explains, like, I want to say like 80% of why everything feels so crazy right now is just because of COVID.
But at the time, that was the mantra. Problematic viewpoints needed to be silenced, tucked away somewhere, and they would just sort of die in isolation. So
like all these crazy problematic viewpoints, like overt white nationalism and overt racism and sexism and homophobia, which seem to be, at least in polite society, very much on the decline in like 2016. They started rumbling up in the first half of Trump's term, and then after COVID, they just shot like a slingshot. But
that was the climate where
they actually had been shunned and expelled from polite society. Like, I actually, am I crazy? I think that, like, back in 2014, if you said I'm a white supremacist and then you got social pushback for that and you didn't get a fucking talk show, I think that was probably preferable to now when you get a fucking GoFundMe and you become rich and you start a podcast. That didn't used to be the pipeline. The I'm a racist to I'm a podcaster pipeline is relatively novel.
Started 2017. That time period was like crucial for getting people off mainstream platforms. Is that correct?
Yeah, and I would say that you got to get into the psychology of those days. It felt like anybody that wasn't on board with the most progressive agenda had no options. There was just no alternative. It was going to be progressive, liberal, feminist, BLM, all that kind of stuff. And if you were to the right of John McCain, you're no platformed, censored, banned from all the platforms. You're fired from your job. You're ostracized socially. And I think what happened really in 2021 when Trump got banned from the platforms is it felt like 70 million people got canceled. 70 million people that voted for Trump, or 60, 70 million people. We were all felt like, oh, so if Trump is out of politics and we're all banned from the platforms, then how is there any redress for our grievances? Do we just have to shut up and get with the program?
I'm in my 50s. I thought all that crap was mostly gone from polite society. I don't think this is a hot take. Overt bigotry is like worse now than it was like 10 years ago. Is that a hot take? Not that people didn't have, subconscious bigoted beliefs and like behind closed doors, but like overt bigotry. I think when historians look back at the late 2010s and the 2020s, I think that's just going to be called the regressive era. I'm not super well versed in American history, so like maybe there are other parallels for this, but like in what other point in American history have so many things like regressed so quickly and so extremely? Like racial equality, gender equality, equality for different sexual orientations, institutional norms like the post-Watergate, the DOJ is supposed to be pretty separate from the president, across so many different domains of social and political life. The last 10 years, post-Reconstruction, good point. Yeah, that's actually a good point. Yeah. But like, yeah, I think this is, we're living through the regressive era. Like, that's what I would call this.
We're all going to be progressive. And I think that drove people to a far more radical
place. And here's the
place.
thing. What Fuentes is talking about, this is what the social thing he took advantage of, right? And you can watch this happen in slow motion. Go back to 2016. And what was the refrain on the right? Bro, when I make these like racist jokes, I'm not actually racist. I'm just joking, okay? It's just a word. I don't really mean it. So yes, I'm going to go into public places where no one finds this funny and make this obviously garbage joke that's not funny at all, and then talk about how I'm so persecuted because I'm not allowed to say words anymore. That opened up the door for actual crazy Nazi people to come into the fold, right? It's people who are, listen, I'm just making a Nazi joke. I'm not actually a Nazi. It's just a joke, bro. It's like a Family Guy type of joke. And then what does that become? It becomes the right wing saying, oh, anytime you call someone a Nazi, that's just an innocent person making an edgy joke. That's what it must be. And then all the real Nazis are like, yeah, right, for sure. Yeah, for sure. Anytime someone calls you a Nazi, like you're not actually one, right? Yeah, we're on the same team, guy. That's how they got in. That's fully how they got in. It starts with the cancel culture stuff, the anti-cancel culture stuff of like, you call all of us racist. You call all of us Nazis when we're just making edgy jokes. So now, when you call someone that, we're just going to say it means nothing to call someone a racist. It means nothing to call someone a Nazi because you're just mean to our edgy humor. And then, oh, Nick Fuentes, welcome to the party, I guess.
Where people said, well, what really is a solution? We can't talk. We can't express ourselves.
It's not weaponized irony as much as like the devaluing of language. Like, and this is bound to happen in a digital society, unfortunately. But like, bro, I feel like there's been a complete breakdown in the English language to the point where like, if I say right now, this is hypothetical. If I say right now, I oppose socialism, and I ask 100 people, they're going to have 200 answers for what that even means, what I just said. Just even in the 46 people here, I'm getting 100 definitions for socialism if I ask you that. Or for cancel culture, or for wokeism, or for progressivism. And that's a problem. You don't have to be some fucking debate lord like Andrew Wilson. Like, what exactly do you mean when you say this? But there has to be more consensus on what these terms and slogans mean. Even, remember defund the police? Like, a lot of people said that. They were like, oh, what I mean is like I want more funding for like mental health outreach and community programs. Same. And then some people were like, no, I mean like no more police. And it's like, bro, we need to actually explain what we all mean when we say these words then. Because that's like a crazy spread. That's not the same thing at all.
Participate in the process or run for office. And I was one of the people saying that's exactly what's going to happen. It's going to drive people to extremism. If you don't talk, if people don't feel like they have a seat at the table and enfranchisement, I think then they start exploring options outside the system, outside of the political process, the democratic process. So I think it's self-inflicted.
Which, by the way, I don't know if I've made this case before. I will die by this. The vast majority of contemporary political debate and discourse is disagreeing on descriptive claims. Not on prescriptive claims, on descriptive claims. Prescriptive is a question of ought. Like, what should we do? But to ever get to that question, you have to agree on what is. And no one agrees on what is. My live is getting I guess I can't show this. What the... I guess we can't watch this. I lost my train of thought. Yeah, most political disagreement is just descriptive. Like, what's a good way to make this point? Like, when we debate about the one big beautiful bill, it's one thing if everyone agrees on what the effects of that bill are, and then we disagree on on whether those pros and cons are worth it. If you can't agree on material reality, then why are we arguing about how it should function, how it should be? Because there's an inherent tension in the word should, which is that like America should be this way. Okay, so you have an end goal or like an end state that you want America to exist within, and there has to be some kind of movement towards that. In order to conceptualize the movement towards that, we have to understand where we're starting and where we are. And if we don't agree on that, then we're skipping a step by talking about ought claims. Which is why even with debates with people on the left, I'm like, before we debate, like, should we have socialism or communism or whatever, like, can we first agree on like how markets work and how economies work? And like, once we've established that, then we can have a debate on like, how should it be? But if we're talking about different subjects, then it's just a useless conversation. I might restart the TikTok live, actually. That's crazy. Why did I just get another flag? Okay. We're going to try restarting it. Lock in. I want all 47 of you back. Okay, at least. Even if it doesn't get more viewers. Okay, so go to my page and lock in. I'll be back in like 2 seconds. If you're on YouTube, you can still watch. Okay. Starting back up on TikTok. Fuentes face cam is a stream killer. I feel like I've reacted to his Piers Morgan thing at length on TikTok before, and it was fine. Maybe the algo's changed since then, but if you're hopping on TikTok, make sure you guys are double tapping the screen, following up above, subscribing on YouTube.
Ways.
So you feel like after the mass deplatforming in 2021, whenever people on the right got pushed to platforms like Parler, Gab, Rumble, etc., the lack of discourse and like the political singularity of those platforms created more extremism?
Absolutely. Because look, you take Trump off of Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and I predicted this in 21. I said, watch, you're going to see alternative social media rise because some venture capitalist is going to see there's a huge market of 70 million people that are going to follow Trump because Trump is no platform.
I don't know that that's true. How popular is Truth Social? How many people follow Trump to Truth Social? Because there's just this hunger in our hearts to be scrolling through the timeline on Truth. It's like we all Google it. We all Google Donald Trump Truth Social post in our fucking web browser to see when he says some crazy shit. No one's downloading it and making an account. And I know he's saying there's a place for it, but I think... I don't like letting these things slide because a lot of the right-wing narrative is based on this completely detached from reality thing where, like, there's this silent majority of Americans who are just, they fucking love the right. They're these far-right people, and they're everywhere amongst us. It's like 40 to 60% of our populace, and they've been disenfranchised, and they've been speaking up. Bro, like, Trump won, like, 49% in the election, and a sizable portion of that were, like, independent moderates who, like, fucking hate Trump now. So, like... it's a problem that Nick Fuentes has an audience. I still think the numbers are insanely over-exaggerated. And I don't like feeding into the idea that, like, these people they're everywhere around us and they're rising up and they are the true culture. It's like, no, bro, it's like one guy. Or no, it's like 5 bots, 10 people, and then, like, an influencer.
Happened. Rumble blew up. Elon bought Twitter. And what happened when
in
you
terms
had
of like
total
the ratios? Like, I don't think there's like this mass hunger in our country for like a fascist takeover.
Speech on these platforms? Well, Twitter now resembles 4chan. And now, there's no gatekeepers. And I think it did push people.
Yeah, there is. Elon Musk has completely distorted the algorithm. It's all, bro. Twitter is just like a cesspool of AI, vague posting, Nazism, and like advertisements for OnlyFans, and then whichever advertisers Musk can secure for the platform. It's not the open free market square of ideas or whatever the fuck they call it. It's not the public square.
Honestly, people are even blowing past me. Now there's like mainstream normie types that are even blowing past me in terms of how radical they are. People start saying things like, there's no political solution, there's going to be a civil war, we need a revolution. And I think that's because the message from the left was, you're crushed. You have no options, you can't win, there's no alternative. Trump is going to be indicted and charged and can't run. You can't be on Twitter, you can't have a job. And so people started to say, okay, well, we still exist. We're still here, we still have these concerns. What do we do now? And then people start to say, well, we need a revolution. And I'm one of the only people saying, no, we should still engage in the process and talk with each other. And it's not all one-sided. I think there's problems on the left and the right, but I certainly think it takes two to tango.
That is Hunter Biden. I know. And I regret to inform you he did not do a great job here.
There, we agree. I think that there are problems on the left and the right, and I don't disagree with some of the things that you just said. I guess I just came to a different conclusion that there are some things that people should be deplatformed for.
Oh, no, I just got flagged again. I mean, I'm down to switch to debates for a bit. But there's no guest requests. I doubt we're going to get any. Hold on. There we go. Or I guess I can keep it here and you guys can listen to the audio. Will that help?
They can't say it where they want to say it, but I think that it's a right of anybody.
Okay, top 3 things. What do you think?
There's a difference between being able to say that you're proud of your white heritage and also being just flat out racist. I think that there's a difference between saying you're proud of your Christian heritage and the white culture from what you come from and not.
Hold on. Saying don't platform Nick when I have like 50 viewers and this is a video he did with Hunter Biden, it does not make much sense to me. It actually doesn't make sense to say I'm proud of my white culture. it might make sense to say I'm proud of my Italian culture and my Irish culture. Like, why is Hunter being so conciliatory, bro?
Or that you adopt the Nazism as a legitimate ideology. I think that there's a difference between saying that you disagree with the United States policy as it relates to Israel and saying that the Holocaust didn't exist.
That was like, Mom, Dad, Hitler was awesome. Hitler was right. And the Holocaust didn't happen. And my parents were like, we cannot believe.
Those would be top three things in my mind. I know that you believe that some people took you out of context, and I do agree. Look, I'm both the right and the left. There are these gatekeepers, 100%. And look at me, the mainstream press just destroyed me for 7 years.
Stop doing the both sides.
Without any real kind of reflection about what they were doing. I do think that, some of those things are legitimate reasons to say, we don't want you on our, on our commercial platform. Would you agree with that? I mean, you just said, for instance, people calling for like an armed revolution, like people calling for actual violence. You're opposed to.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm against
like,
violence.
Like Donald Trump egging on the rioters after he was informed the riot had begun. Like, again, there's this idea of like a dog whistle and not everything has to be said explicitly, like verbatim. If rioters have breached the Capitol grounds and Trump has been told, hey, rioters have breached the Capitol grounds, and then Trump's first instinct is to tweet that Mike Pence didn't have the courage to do the right thing, and Mike Pence is like in the building they're breaking into, how is that not just an endorsement of violence? Does he have to specifically say, hey, beat violence time? Like,
and I do think those are one of the legitimate things that should be taken from the platform. There's a lot of this stuff on social media I don't agree with, but again, what started to happen is there was this like editorial censorship where certain ideas were banned. And it was
and you know what I've come around to, by the way? Something that this is like a super radical take of mine. And it might be a part of the YouTube video I'm working on. It might make sense as like is it epilogue or prologue that comes at the end? It's epilogue, right? It's one of the logs. Yeah, I think if I do an epilogue at the end, I might include this. I think the way we deal with MAGA is, I want to pull up the exact text. Hold on. Avengers teaser. No person shall be a senator or representative in Congress or elector of president and vice president or hold any office, civil or military, under the U.S. or under any state who, having previously taken an oath as a member of Congress or as an officer of the United States or as a member of any state legislature, as an executive or judicial officer of any state to support the Constitution of the United States, shall have engaged in insurrection or rebellion against the same, or given aid or comfort to the enemies thereof. I didn't think this at the time, and this might sound crazy. I think MAGA Republicans should be taken off every ballot everywhere across the country by invoking the 14th Amendment. If you're just a normal Mitt Romney Republican, and you can make that clear, fine, you can run. If you are a Donald Trump Republican, if you aided and abetted the Donald Trump second term, you're like an actual enemy of the United States. Like, just plain and simple. Feels coalition take-ish? What do you mean? It will never happen? I disagree. If you put the right justices on the courts, they're the ones who decide how this gets implemented. They're the ones who saved Trump from having to go through that. Or, hold on, someone can correct me. Wasn't the whole Supreme Court debacle with the 14th Amendment just that they said, they didn't rule on whether Trump was an insurrectionist. They just ruled that like a state could not unilaterally take a candidate off the ballot. Am I wrong on that? Was that not the decision there? The decision wasn't that you couldn't invoke this to kick Trump off the ballot. It was like some technicality on like which level of government is allowed to be changing the ballot options or whatever. But this is something I believe like very strongly now. Because again, to give a little sneak peek of my YouTube video, like when I say that Donald Trump is an illegitimate president, that's not just rhetoric or hyperbole or like a rallying cry. I genuinely believe that Donald Trump is not the legitimate president of the United States. That there is no legitimate occupier of that office right now. And it's not a convoluted argument. It's very simple, okay? When we talk about President of the United States, what are we referring to? Honest question. What are we referring to? I want to see what people's answers to that question are. When I refer to the noun President of the United States, what am I referring to? Because the answer is very simple. It's actually not some convoluted ontological philosophical thing. What I'm referring to is an office that is defined and named where? Did it fall out of the sky? Did the President of the United States, is that a naturally occurring thing in nature I can see under a microscope? It's not even about elections. It's the title and the authority granted to that title comes from the Constitution. Constitution said there's going to be a guy, we're going to call him the president. Here's Article 2. Here's what he's allowed to do, which is why you have to swear in on the Constitution because like that's what creates the office. The office is not a physical thing. It's a social construct abstraction that comes from the Constitution. That's where the name comes from. That's where the authority comes from. When someone says we should terminate the Constitution, and I don't know if I have to uphold the Constitution, understand there's not a single other American president in U.S. history who has said that. Ever. Ever. Like at all. Not a single president has said we should terminate the U.S. Constitution. So when Trump says we should terminate the document which establishes the office of the presidency, how can you occupy an office you don't believe in? The office that Trump claims to occupy is defined by a document that he doesn't believe in. Trump does not believe that his authority comes from the Constitution. He uses the apparatus of the state, but Trump believes that authority and legitimacy of the state come from Donald Trump, which is why he said, he who saves his country violates no law. And when he was asked, are there any limits on your power? He said, there's one limit, my own morality, my own mind. Not checks and balances, not the Congress, not the courts. And this is distinct, by the way, even from previous presidents that have done power grabs. To be clear. Because they are still operating within the context of a constitutional framework, which restrains them, which over a long enough time horizon pushes back, gives people voting rights, restricts certain like abuses by the state. For Trump to deny that entire paradigm that the presidency exists within is, I'm not going to go too deep into it, but it's a reality that like no one seems to want to contend with in like a very, very real way, where it's like the best metaphor I can give is like, has anyone watched Adventure Time? Has anyone watched Adventure Time here? If so, then I can give you a metaphor that really puts it into perspective. When the Billy, his like face gets scratched off and you see like the Lich is like wearing his skin, Donald Trump is wearing the skin of the United States. And he's like pretending to be the United States. He like killed it. He's like wearing the skin. And everyone just kind of treats it as legitimate because we've been trained to go like, oh yeah, like I guess he has the official seal and he like happens to live in the White House. It's like, that's like what the president is. But easy test. If a random dude, if a random guy showed up to Washington, D.C. and he starts squatting in the White. He's like, I live in the White House now. Some random dude named Jim. Okay, Jim shows up to Washington D.C. through whatever means it may be. He starts living in the White House, and all of Jim's little goons, they start living in the federal buildings. And Jim's little personal militia, they start occupying military bases. And then Jim gives an address saying, I am henceforth the president of the United States. Don't believe me? Here I am living in the White House. There are all my people working in the federal buildings. There's my militia in the military bases. If everyone in America just was like, oh, okay, Jim, cool, president, moving on. No one would do that. Everyone would be like, you're not the president just because you live there and have the title and you live in the building. That is essentially what Trump is doing right now. There's no substantive, legitimate, legal, ontological arguments you can make that Trump is a legitimate president. There just isn't. And like, it's hard to properly convey what I mean by that, but the video I'm making will help with that. Because it's like I think it's a very important thing. Like, that paradigm needs to shift. This is not politics as usual. Like, this is, America died, someone is wearing its skin, and we're all pretending like it's still America, and he's taking advantage of the compliance that gives him, right? But a president is someone who legally holds office via being sworn into office by two branch. Okay, let me ask you a question then. If someone else showed up to the inauguration and they put a gun to John Roberts' head and they said, I have a missile aimed at the Capitol building in Washington, D.C., swear me in, he put his hand on the thing, he said the stuff, is he president? Like, pieces of paper with words on them mean nothing divorced from abstractions. Like, that is the foundation of any large-scale civilization. It's not just people and pages with words on them. There have to be immaterial abstractions that are in some sense governing legitimate governance. I mean, that was the entire idea of the Declaration of Independence, by the way. The entire idea of the Declaration of Independence was, you guys have all these titles and you have all this power and you have all this nominal authority. You wear the crown, but in no substantive, legitimate way can you claim to govern us. Okay, so then you're agreeing with me. It makes the office and the swearing in illegitimate based on some external factor which overrides just the legal process. And I can push the thought experiment further, because you're saying he won via the Electoral College. He won his office. I can just take the hostage situation further back. If someone aimed a nuclear weapon at the U.S. and said, I'm going to nuke the U.S. if you all don't vote for me for president, would that person be a legitimate president? The point that I'm making here is that there are immaterial, abstract factors outside of just all the processes on paper that can determine whether or not someone is legitimate. Even if you have checked every single box on paper, that is insufficient. It just is. And he shouldn't have been allowed to run again. I agree. Okay, but dude, I think you're missing my point. You're saying it's illegal. Okay, what if he held the Congress hostage, said pass a law making it legal? Like, what you're missing is all of these laws and processes exist downstream of something else. And that something else is not just like who put the vote in the box and what does the piece of paper say. And again, like, this is the argument in the Declaration of Independence. Like, the founding ethos of the United States is that simply having power and having a nominal claim to authority is not sufficient to declare yourself a legitimate governing body. A government is only legitimate to the extent that mechanisms are in place by which the people can hold that government accountable to the extent of their behavior. Which, by the way, how do you hold Donald Trump accountable? Presidential immunity, pardoning power, once he leaves office, unless you're willing to question fundamental assumptions of our republic, how do you hold him accountable? Or Stephen Miller, or Kash Patel, or Pam Bondi, how? Voter intimidation is legal, so is voter fraud. And I think that focusing on that part of it detracts from what I'm trying to get across, I guess, which is like, we're saying, okay, the thing that makes Trump legitimate is that people voted in an election, and then they voted for electors, and then the electors voted for Trump. But I could give you a hypothetical situation where people voted for electors, the electors voted for Trump, and Trump was sworn in, but depending on the scenario I give you, you might still say he's illegitimate. And I think there's a massive over-indexing on these heuristics and these nominal, these sort of nominal claims to legitimacy that are just because a certain box was checked and I live in a certain building and like a certain process took place that now I'm somehow imbued with a power that I actually don't believe I have. I don't believe in the Constitution as a founding document at all. Like, and this is, by the way, why, like, they just defy courts. They just defy Congress. How can you be a legitimate president who just, again, people don't know this, and this is all going to be in my video. I want everyone here to guess without Googling. How many times has the Trump administration defied courts in the second term? Not been difficult to deal with the courts or like appealed the court's decision or shadow docket or just outright defied a court order. How many times? It's over 700. Over 700. 700. You're just not the legitimate president of the United States if your conception of power is I'm only going to pretend to listen to the courts and I'm only going to pretend to listen to Congress when I'm too lazy to see it through, right? Trump, when he listens to Supreme Court on birthright citizenship or on tariffs, and you see people saying, look, well, that settles it. Checks and balances still work. Trump's obeying the courts. No, he's not. If you're picking and choosing when you obey the courts, then you're putting on a character. You're playing a role. You're performing for the audience. You don't believe the courts are legitimate because when people aren't looking at the district courts or the habeas petitions, you defy the courts. When people aren't looking, you cut off federal funding to blue states that didn't vote for you. So you're only pretending to obey courts. You're only pretending to obey Congress. You're only pretending to be the president of the United States to the extent that people are watching you. And if you stop pretending, they're going to panic and the economy is going to crash. It's a practical calculation for Trump. It's a pragmatic calculation for Trump. It has nothing to do with what's legal or what's allowed, which is why I say it's important to talk about what is possible and not just what Trump is going to do. Because what Trump is going to do is going to be constrained, even if checks and balances are gone, by Trump's own will and his own discretion. If Stephen Miller was president right now, the things he could do should terrify you. And they are things that no previous American president thought they could do, let alone would do, let alone would have the ability to do. And they have all those things. They think they can do it. They know how to do it. Like, dude, I want to be clear. This speech that Trump just gave about the whole election thing, which was bullshit, and the documents released are bullshit. The reason that's like low-key a nothing burger is not because of like some kind of check or balance. It's because these people are incompetent and stupid. But I want everyone to understand, tomorrow, let's say Stephen Miller becomes president tomorrow, and he gives a speech saying, my DNI has come to me, and my FBI has come to me, and my CIA director has come to me, and they have let me know that every single Democrat in the United States Congress has been compromised by China, Iran, and Venezuela. I'm not able to show you the proof at the moment because it's classified. It's an ongoing investigation. Take them to court. What are they going to tell the judge? There's this thing called state secrets privilege where they can say, listen, judge, I can't show you the evidence. This is like a state of emergency. I have national security powers. I don't have to show you anything. And they invoke state secrets privilege. And the whole time, there's nothing there. And then under that pretext, they say, listen, I'm declaring a state of emergency. I'm suspending habeas corpus. I'm suspending the U.S. Congress until further notice. Trump doesn't do that because he's stupid, because it would still be difficult, like just on a pragmatic level, and because it would probably crash the U.S. economy. someone who has a stomach for all of that, who's like willing to see that through, who was really ideologically motivated, and they're like, no, I'll fucking do that shit. They could do it. Every check and balance to prevent that is gone. So, like, and here's the thing. When the only constraints left are logistics and the will of the person in power, that's not the United States. It just isn't. And when the full extent of Trump playing the role of U.S. president is just the pragmatic aspect, I'll obey the courts when you're looking. I'll follow congressional appropriations kind of when you're looking. Even those I won't really follow when you're looking. But when you're not looking, I'm going to show what I really am, which is not the President of the United States of America as defined by Article 2. It's a hostile foreign force that has entered like a virus or like a parasite the apparatus of the United States government and is now using all those levers of power. I mean, people should look this up. Autocratic legalism, I think it's what it's called. And if you operate under the paradigm of like Trump is just a historically bad president, he's just like the worst president ever. It's like you're thinking of him within a certain context of U.S. politics and presidents. But this is just so detached from that. This is just this is a categorically different thing. Autocratic legalism is a strategy where democratically elected leaders use the legal and constitutional framework of their own country to consolidate power and dismantle liberal democracy from within. Instead of using military force, these leaders rely on lawyers and legislatures to legally rewrite election rules, pack courts with loyalists, and silence critics. It's like, at a certain point, we have to be able to say, okay, you won the election, you were sworn in, and like you're in the White House, there is something external to all those boxes being checked, which actually dictates whether this is America or not. If you don't believe that, I think you have a very cynical view of what the United States is. And I don't think it's a particularly constructive view either for going forward. But I would just, any of these arguments about like, oh, but he was elected, but it's legal, none of that speaks to what I'm getting at, which is just like a categorically different thing that we're dealing with right now. So yeah, long story short, that's why I think that this needs to be Democrats. If you win back power, we're putting on 4 more justices. 13. Would that be 13? Yeah, and there's 13. Hold on. Okay, not courts. Am I? Is there not like 13? Is it circuits? Maybe. Might be. Okay, yeah, 13 judicial circuits in the federal court system. 13 Supreme Court justices seems fine to me. Did you see Lonerbox's reaction to your Wilson debate? I did not. I didn't know that. I've heard of Lonerbox before. I'm not super familiar with his content, but is it on YouTube? What did he say good things about me? If not, fuck him. Hold on. I want to ask the chat, because the rant that I just went on about Trump not being the president, I'm like very steeped in that because I've been working on the video about it. How much sense did that make on a scale of 0 to 100? It's good to get a barometer on that because it's all stuff that I've been thinking on. And I think I mentioned the other day, the documents I've written up for this video, I swear, add up to, I think at this point, it's like 63 pages. 99, 100. Okay, good. I'm glad to hear it. It's going to be 1,000% by the time you watch the video, okay? Because I just explained it through like a logical framework, whereas I think the video explains it in a more visceral way. I disagree. I think it makes way more sense than a legal argument. You don't have to appeal to laws or anything. And it's not vibes to say, okay, the office of the presidency is defined by the Constitution. You swear into the office on the Constitution. If you don't believe in the Constitution, you want to terminate it, then those previous two things are null and void. That's it. I can delve deeper into explaining it, but that is the argument. If I get a job at Walmart and I get the role of cashier and I have certain responsibilities and duties, and I always talk about like, fuck Walmart, it's not real, I can just do whatever I want, and then I show up to my first day of work and I put on my Walmart uniform and I wear the Walmart badge and I just start running around into other stores, other states, other countries, wreaking havoc. Am I still a Walmart cashier in any real sense because I have the name tag that says Walmart cashier and because maybe my contract is still valid? No. I don't know if he posted it. I saw it live. He was impressed. Wilson's so challenging. Yeah, Wilson is just an insanely bad faith actor. I've never in my life dealt with a more bad faith actor than Andrew Wilson. Am I not able to find this? Are his like live VODs not up on YouTube or something? Or is he a Twitch person? Because I'm curious. I've been wanting to see reactions to my Wilson stuff. Maybe not. Someone can let me know. I don't want to go on a wild goose chase. Hold on. What time is it? I'll send a link if I find it. Thank you. I'm trying to think if there's anything else I want to cover. And I also want to touch back on the less sense in the legal argument. As much as I believe in rule of law, like, it can't be optional. Like, once there is no more rule of law, it doesn't, like, it just stops existing. You can't say, like, oh, well, according to rule of law, this subversion of rule of law is legitimate. Does that make sense? Like, any framework we would use to substantiate the idea that Trump is president is a framework that he definitionally rejects. And it's the entire founding ethos of the country. For this video, I've been reading Thomas Paine. I read the Declaration of Independence. Because a lot of the arguments I'm making are actually like, they hit you a lot harder when you read like how the U.S. was founded and like what our system is supposed to be, ideally. I don't think you can have an accurate understanding of the ideal version of what the American system should be and then think that Trump exists within that system. I don't think those are compatible beliefs. And I'm doing content full time. Specific laws are easier to ground. I would wager, and this is untested, that if I went to like a random person who doesn't follow politics and I just told them, how can Trump be a legitimate president if he swore on the Constitution, but like, look, here's a video of him or a picture of him saying he wants to terminate the Constitution. That just, to me, just seems like such a simple A-B argument of like, oh yeah, it's like he swears in on it, but he doesn't like it. Any legal argument, that's where people's eyes start glossing over, in my opinion. And I don't have faith in the legal system. I don't. The Supreme Court has been bending over backwards to appease Trump. Circuit courts and district courts, they've issued injunctions, they've issued TROs, they've issued rulings on habeas petitions. Like, let me find this, bro. Hold on. I always come back to this document. I've been coming back to it for like a year at this point. Have we had any successes from the courts? We've had successes from the courts when there is some incentive structure that causes Trump to comply. But the thing is, Trump's compliance with the courts is a function of what Trump feels like doing, not the legitimacy of the courts. That is just gone now by definition. If courts are making rulings that are not being enforced, then there's no courts. It's just a bunch of people in robes, and Trump sometimes listens to them to keep the peace, but sometimes he doesn't. Hold on. Look at this. So, and there's different categories here. Courts' concerns over non-compliance with judicial orders 34, distrust of government information 90, arbitrary and capricious action 91. Look at the habeas petitions. And habeas is important. Habeas is for like unlawful, unjust detention. Non-compliance. What does that say? Hold on. This is insane. I don't know if there's any precedent for this in American history. Like through World War I, World War II, the Civil War, the Cold, like I don't know if there's any precedent for this. And here's why I feel it's so important to make the argument that Trump is not the legitimate president. This is not like just politics. And this is not even just a power grab in the Lincoln suspended habeas corpus and FDR, he did this stuff. And this exists in a different category than American presidents doing power grabs. This is like a different style of government. This is why I love Maggie Haberman and Jonathan Swan. What was their book titled? Regime Change. Regime Change. And they're right, and they know better than anyone how this administration works. They said that when Trump came into office for the second time, essentially it was regime change in the United States. But the regime change happened with all the same uniforms and all the same federal buildings and all the same ceremonies, but it's still regime change just because the new regime killed the old one and now wears its skin and pretends to be the old one sometimes. We're all supposed to be sheep and be like, oh yeah, sure, you're the president. Like, when I look at the space we're operating within, it's just so constrained from what it actually should be. Like, we all think this is like just a bad presidency or something. And we don't fully grapple with, like, if Trump wakes up on the wrong side of the bed tomorrow, shit could be crazy. Shit could be really crazy. What does legitimate mean? I think it means having like the substantive authority in terms of government, like what is a legitimate government? It's having a sound and substantive claim to like the monopoly on force and like the authority over a certain government. And it's going to flow almost always from the founding document of the country. I mean, like our entire system of government is downstream of the Constitution. And a lot of what you see codified in the Constitution is downstream of like the ethos of the Declaration of Independence. And again, people should read the Declaration of Independence and they should read Common Sense by Thomas Paine. And it's crazy. The stuff these guys were saying is like, okay, this king and like all the king's soldiers, like he is the king, like on paper, he lives in the palace, he has the crown, the royal bloodline, all of the titles. So like on paper, nominally speaking, you are legitimate so far as nominal legitimacy goes. But hold on a second. We have no way to hold you accountable. You're putting up standing armies in our places where we live. You're violating our civil liberties. Like our entire way of life has been uprooted by your abuse of power. And you just shield this abuse of power by saying, oh, but I'm the king. I'm the king. So actually, you're not legitimate. You're not legitimate. And the parallels between this moment and the American Revolution are, if you read into it, I think it's actually a little bit scary. Like, I actually think it's a little bit creepy. I don't say that like, if you really go back and read like what was the real impetus behind the founding of the United States, if that shit does not apply to a T to Donald Trump, then like America is only worth the cloth that the stars and stripes are on. Like that's all it is. Which that's a take. People have that take. That it's just like, oh, it's just cynical and it's always just been bullshit. But if you believe in any sort of ideals or that there's anything good about America that we should be trying to maximize, it's not there right now. And we're in a state where like just winning an election or passing a law is we're playing the wrong game. And constantly, I see it's like we're playing a game of tennis. And people are looking at me and saying, oh, we came prepared. This right here, this is no ordinary tennis racket. It's an AI tennis racket that can sense every ball coming and hit it at the perfect angle immediately. So these other people on the other side of that net, they've been cheating and stuff, but now we have our AI tennis racket. And I'm like, bro, the guy on the other side of the fucking tennis net is pointing a gun at you. He's pointing a bazooka at you. What do you mean now I'm going to win the tennis game? This isn't a tennis game anymore. Like, you just think that now we have to be really good at tennis or we're going to win somehow. The other guy's trying to kill us. It's really important to understand the paradigm we're in. Because that is the right actions to take are downstream of the understanding. Again, goes back to what I said. It's a descriptive question. I think if you properly descriptively understand the current state of America, then the way to deal with that is going to logically follow from that description, given certain values. Like, if tomorrow, how many blue governors are there? Not black, blue. Okay, bro. Okay, there are 24 Democratic governors serving across the U.S. states. Here's an honest question. If tomorrow, all 24 of these governors gave a joint address, like a joint speech, let's say they somehow come to Capitol Hill and they give it to the Congress, or they do some big thing, all 24 of them at some round table or some big podium or something, all 24 of them, and maybe if there's like a normal Republican governor out there, he's there too, and all of them say the federal government has lost all claim to legitimacy and all of our states were forming a joint like legal constitutional defense fund to investigate every single novel legal theory, every single novel constitutional avenue to oppose this, and all of us are declaring a state of emergency. How many people here would say, okay, that's kind of extra? Or like, I don't know about that. Let's just win the election. I'm curious. When you're gauging like how is the severity of the action proportional to the severity of the situation that you're responding to? How would people perceive that? I wonder. Because here's what I'll say. Normies, a lot of normies would view it as an escalation. I think if you properly understand the moment we're in, you wouldn't view it as an escalation. You would view it as finally, oh, now we're playing on the same, from the same standpoint. Yeah, I agree. Under the current paradigm, that seems like a crazy overreach. I don't think that's set in stone. I don't think most people understand what's happening right now. Even people who hate Donald Trump, who have TDS, I think most people still don't understand like what this really is right now. And I don't know what I think it's like a bias towards normalcy, or just like if I talk to you and I say, hey, like what are the chances that like 5 years from now there's like military marching down our streets and there's like no elections? You're gonna say it's like a 5% chance or something. And even if I don't think that's the most likely outcome, what we have to contend with is the fact that a pathway to that outcome now exists. And the question is not, is that possible? It's, does someone want to do it? That's worth talking about. isn't that joint coalition of blue states just pretext to secession or civil war? Well, what it's a pretext for is downstream of just if that initial action works, which is state of emergency and pursuing all these novel legal. I want to talk like when we appeal to laws, and like I understand it in practical terms, courts and Congress and stuff are like still doing things because people are just, they go through the motions without understanding what's even going on. It's just like force of habit. I want people to understand, like, how are we not in a civil war when yesterday it was reported that the Trump administration just withheld federal funds from states that voted for Kamala Harris solely on the basis that they voted for Kamala Harris? To call that like a cohesive country, like what, do words just mean nothing now? Like, does the title of the president just mean nothing now? Like, as long as you put your hand on the book and said the words and made the noises and signed the papers, now that's just like all you need to do? That's like a pathetic state of affairs. That's just like, that's not, there's nothing there. There's nothing of substance there. These people commit crimes in broad daylight. And then they go, well, that's actually a novel legal theory of mine, that I'm allowed to do that crime. It's not a crime, guys. I actually think that in Article 2, when they said the executive power, that also meant you can do crimes. So that's my theory of the Constitution. And then our side is like, well, my theory of the Constitution. Bro, they don't care about the They're literally playing in your face. They're playing in your face when they do this stuff. And they know all we're going to do is respond with our court challenge. If they lose the court challenge, if it's not a high profile case, they'll just defy the fucking court. And then nothing's going to happen. And then we're supposed to keep playing this game of like politics as usual. No, what? This is where I think I might separate from more like moderate liberals and Democrats who think I'm like fully on their side on like policy and stuff, which I am, is like the stakes right now are absurdly high. And just because like you can get in your car and like drive to McDonald's and like everything's like fine in your life, like, okay, let's ask Alex Preddy if everything's like fine in his life. Let's ask Mahmoud Khalil or like Luis Munoz Pinto, like how is this just business as usual? It just pisses me off. And it pisses me off because there's this like like if you were to ask, is the American left broadly like really galvanized and angry at Trump and like really anti-Trump? I feel like everyone says, yeah, of course they are. And I'm like, no, not at all. Like not 1/1,000,000th of how much they should be. 740 cases of court for habeas petitions, not for some, what is the statutory interpretation of this education grant? Habeas petitions. We all know what a habeas petition is, right? Like the most basic thing, the thing that has been around since before the United States of America existed. Like this is one of the most fundamental, people talk about Western civilization, the idea that you cannot just be arbitrarily arrested and put into a cage, that you have a right and that there should exist some forum at which you can challenge your detention. That's where the 740 non-compliance cases are. I don't, like, what are we doing here? He's the president. I guess anything can be president then. I guess if like Hitler came and he gave a speech saying, hey guys, here's what I'm going to do. Like, let me ask you this. Hitler comes back from the dead and he gives a great big speech to the United States saying, here's what I'm going to do, guys. I'm going to shoot a mind erasing ray at the country. So after the speech, all of you are going to forget who Hitler is, what he ever did. Okay. And my plan is to get into government, win the election, and then destroy it from within while still using all the arms of state power that exist now. Military, federal agencies, all of these chains of command. I'm going to use those to create a new regime by infiltrating the regime that currently exists. and then he snaps his fingers, pushes the trigger, whatever, and everyone in America has now forgotten who Adolf Hitler ever was. And by some stroke of luck or whatever, vote splitting or whatever it is, he becomes president. He's sworn in. And the day after he's sworn in, everyone remembers the speech he gave the day before and like who Hitler is. Would anyone say, well, he's the legitimate president, bro? Like he like legally just is the legitimate president. Like we voted for him and he was sworn in. Like everything was by the book. Or would we look at like his stated intent as maybe having some bearing on whether he occupies that office actually? So the scenario I'm giving you of like the governors coming together and giving this big like they should have done that. They should have done that like last year in January on day one when Trump pardoned people who tried to break into the Capitol building and coup the United States government. Bro, another reason I'm just pivoting to videos where I can fully express this shit myself is like, honestly, when I'm in anti-Trump circles, it's not even anti-Trump. It's really not, because no one is properly like understanding the situation, and they understand it, by the way. Trump and them, they know what they're doing and they know that it's working. Like, what legitimate claim to power can you have as Donald Trump when you just look at and it's not just his statements, it's statements and action. So if someone came here and said, okay, Adam, listen, he might have said he wants to terminate the Constitution, but every single way in which he's governed is according to the Constitution, I'll say, okay, I guess, yeah, that's a little bit unclear. Well, no. He said, I don't believe in the Constitution, and then on a daily basis, he intentionally violates it and violates his oath of office and acts in ways that the President of the United States cannot act in, okay? The President doesn't get to just give judicial rulings or just determine federal spending. That a person who defies rulings and defies congressional appropriations is not a United States president. That's not what a president is supposed to be or is allowed to be. Are you going to turn up the content when the midterm cycle heats up? Definitely higher volume. Like, I'm going to put the long form stuff on the back burner probably, but I'll still be doing it. I'm just going to shift. Right now I'm like 70-30 long form to short form. I'll just shift that ratio probably. And I might do some in-person stuff, some in-person debate stuff, hopefully. I joined what do you call it? Take Back America tour. I have to still fill out some stuff for that, but y'all should, if y'all want me to show up to their events, y'all should donate to them through Act Blue so they can fund me going to one of these events and debating someone in person. I did join Take Back America, yeah. I still have to send them my picture and my little blurb so they can put it on their website. But yeah, I wanted some I wanted to be on the front lines come midterms. I want to be in person in front of crowds debating people. Also because the one forum where I'm like untested is like a live audience speech or debate, where I think actually I'd be operating close to my peak in that type of environment. So especially come midterms, I want to put myself in that position more. I did see the Tallarico town hall thing, and man, he is just like, when Tallarico says like I lead with love, that's not some corny platitude. Like he really does. He really does. Like you can tell he's like an actual kind-hearted, good faith person. You and all the other creators got to go crazy and be coordinated come midterms. Yeah, hope so. I might wrap up the live soon, y'all. I don't know how much more I have to say. He is once in a generation. Oh my God, before I leave, I was going to watch this. Anyone catch this? Oh my God, he made some joke that was so painful. Yes, everyone, follow Take Back America, follow the Take Back America creators, and most importantly, if you want to see me debating at a Take Back America event, they fund that. They fund our travel through small dollar donations, through Act Blue. I'm pretty sure if you go to the Take Back America website, you can find their Act Blue link. Literally like $1 is something. If 100 people give $1, that's $100, right? So like anything counts, and it goes towards paying for our travel to these events, RNC, whatever it may be, to debate people in person. So if you want to see me do more in-person stuff, support Take Back America, because now I'm part of them. And now, bro. Yeah, it's the stairs. I need everyone to lock in.
And certainly he didn't want to violate Sharia law, his new founding. And all joking aside, I do think we need term limits in Congress. I think term limits are very important because I see what's happening. The other day, a senator I knew got a text, a great guy, from his wife. And she said, when you get home, I want to have you immediately come up the stairs and make love to me. And he said, I can't do both. You know what? In other words, can't go up the stairs and make love. Does anybody get that? Well, I thought that was actually pretty good. That was actually the only thing I thought was good in this whole freaking stupid speech that they wrote. That was the only good one, and that went down with not exactly great laughter. I think, in other words, you can't go up the stairs and make love, too, What do
you mean in other words? You just said that like 5 times. In other words, says the thing he's just been saying. Okay. And what was that little laugh thing he did?
That was actually the stairs.
Did anyone catch that?
You know what?
What is that?
In other words, you can't go.
Hello? I just... That's the thing also. It's like, I'm making all these sweeping claims about how America's over and like this guy has like destroyed the American experiment and he's an illegitimate president. And he's so fucking stupid, bro. It's so embarrassing that this guy was able to do this. Imagine what a smart person could do. If Trump was able to do this, imagine what someone with even like 20% more intelligence could do to this country. And they have the playbook now from him, right? I mean, those federal judges, I mean, hold on. How do you impeach federal court judge? 2/3 majority. All of the election deniers that have been put onto federal courts. Does anyone here think we're going to get 67 senators to remove them from their positions on the bench? If not, are we supposed to just carry on living in a country where multiple federal judges think that the 2020 election was stolen? Like, there is currently no mechanism to remove them except impeaching them with a 2/3 majority to convict them in the Senate. I don't know how you get out of that without rethinking some fundamental assumptions. I think we need to think about what we need, because what we need substantively is a few constitutional amendments. Getting consensus for that is even harder than getting consensus for impeaching a judge, though. So I think next president probably should Democrat if they get in, which big if, because we're just assuming that Trump would let a Democrat come into office in 2029, but let's say it happens. At the inauguration speech, you're declaring a state of emergency. And you're turning around, if Trump's sitting in the crowd behind your inauguration, saying, Not so fast, big guy. You're going with those guys over there with the handcuffs. You're not going anywhere. Peacefully and patriotically. Okay. I'm going to wrap it up. I'm going to get some food. Any last minute questions, comments, or concerns? Do I think he will live that long? I don't know. Do I hope he will live that long? Yes. I pray every day that we don't get a J.D. Vance presidency. Post more short form content. Yeah, I should be posting a few videos this upcoming week. I'm pretty busy this weekend, but next week I'll post some more short form. And also, I don't want to give a deadline, but like the long form video, it's probably not like a month out. It's probably less than a month, right? So like I was kind of hedging there, but like it should be out within a relatively reasonable span of time, okay? Tallarico did not fall off. You know how I know that? Republicans are so scared of him that Trump name dropped him at the correspondence dinner yesterday. You don't just do that to a Democratic nominee in a Texas Senate race unless you're like, fuck, I need to get this guy. I agree. And this is why I said the incentive structure is annoying. The incentive structure is reactionary high-volume content. Every single day. Breaking news. Donald Trump is still evil, and I think he's evil. And like, again, there's a role for that. It's important. I do it sometimes. I like to give more of a take than just like the news. Or just saying like, oh, this is bad because look. But there's a push and pull between how much I care about like, I want to be famous and everyone's going to know me versus like, I want to make the content that I think is important and be able to make a living from it. And that the name recognition stuff is part of what I do, but it's not like the end all be all of what I do. Meaning like I can sacrifice it in service of other things that are more important to me. So that's why I'm keeping like a 30% emphasis on high volume short form content. Because I understand I have to keep my face out there and like stay in the zeitgeist to grow my platform. But I don't want to like live in it and be defined by it because that shit's fucking annoying. Thank you. Yeah, maybe I should hop on Parker's Lives a little bit too here and there if people want to see me in debates. Okay. That's everything. I'm going to hop off, y'all. Okay. Take care, y'all. Am I in Michigan? I am. Thank you, Adam. You make it much easier for me to explain this crazy shit to my friends and family. Well, I appreciate that you're explaining it to them. That stuff's... I want to say this, too. I feel like it's... people say, like, oh, talking... What is talking about it going to do? Like, educate people so they make different decisions? Like, talk to your friends and family about this shit. It's important. That's like actual grassroots change. Oh, someone said something good on YouTube. It's because the Dems have done such a bad job at communicating the gravity of the situation, or maybe they don't understand it themselves. I don't think they understand it themselves. I think there's a presumption of normalcy, and everything exists within that presumption of normalcy. Even the bad stuff. Because, again, bad stuff happening in America is not unprecedented. The Kent State Massacre. The U.S. government killed way more people than just Alex Preddy, and that was way before. Or Lincoln suspending habeas corpus. FDR doing Japanese internment camps. The argument I'm making is not, and this is going to be my video, is not that like people are being hurt by the government or this is a power grab, because that exists in the American tradition, unfortunately. This is a categorically different thing. And it's the category distinction that I'm drawing more than even the material severity of that category distinction. Because the category distinction is a totally different paradigm. And if we understand the paradigm we're working in, then I think we're better equipped to actually change things. And yeah, I am voting for Abdul Saeed. If he loses the primary, I'll vote for Haley Stevens. If he wins, I'll obviously vote for him in the general. So vote for Abdul in the primary, and then regardless of what happens, vote blue in November. Just do it, okay? Just do it. Okay. What am I looking for? I won't say vote blue no matter who. Because, like, I mean, for all intents and purposes, yes. Practically speaking, yes. But then someone's like, oh, really? What if Hitler ran as a Democrat, though? So, like, vote blue no matter who within reason. Okay, guys.